Chapter 161. Ah, William yawned impatiently. Is that it? If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Don't want to interrupt your hunt for manpower. Don't be in a hurry, William. Let's talk about the money you have in the Swiss National Bank. Here, look at this. Garrick pulled another document from the pile. Damn it, William muttered as he watched Garrick produce yet another paper. Garrick, these documents aren't all about me, are they? He was sweating. There were 3 or 4 documents in the stack. Before Garrick could react, William snatched up everything on the table except the single paper Garrick still held. He planted himself in front of Garrick, blocking him from taking them back. Sit down, Garrick. Don't be so stingy. Weren't you going to show these to me? William smiled and used one hand to hold Garrick off. Garrick, not as strong, could only glare. For God's sake, you bastard. Do you think you can read these without my permission, William Devonshire? Think about the consequences. I'm the chairman of the UK Intelligence and Security Committee, and you're committing a crime. Hearing the serious tone, William paused and, calmer now, set the papers on the table and smoothed them with his hand. He considered what leverage the Security Committee might have over him. Tell me what I have to do to see those documents, he said. Don't lecture me about law. I need to see them. I need to know my mother and I are safe. Garrick didn't answer right away. He only looked at William, expressionless. William's gaze flicked around the room. If bluntness didn't work, he'd try flattery. He forced a conciliatory smile. Garrick, we're friends. Help me out. You took them out to show me, didn't you? I'll owe you a favor. Garrick's eyes flashed. Go to hell. Owe me more favors? Only a scoundrel like you reduces friendship to benefits. You just said we wouldn't talk about friendship, and now you claim we're friends? He unloaded a string of invectives, ungrateful, traitor to alliances, selfish, all the usual slurs, declaring William someone who sweet-talks when convenient and abandons people otherwise. William listened, unbothered. He realized he'd been paranoid. If whatever this was about had anything to do with the occult or the system, Garrick wouldn't have brought it out in his presence. Let him complain, William decided. As long as it wasn't about magic or the system, everything could be worked out as an exchange of interests. Once William convinced himself of that, he put on an apologetic look and, inwardly calculating Garrick's limits, said softly, All right, I was just worried about my family. I'm sorry. Come on, let's have a drink. He poured a full glass of whiskey and downed it. Consider this my apology. Let's put this behind us. If you'll accept, come to Oxford Castle for dinner sometime. I keep a superb stable of Akalteke horses. You can ride whenever you like. Garrick scowled, but finally raised his glass and drank halfway. My dignity is worth a drink, a meal, and 2 hours on your horses? You're shameless, William. No wonder you're Henry's successor. Heh, in your line of work, dignity doesn't pay the bills, William said lightly. Nobody in England talks about selflessness anymore. The royals are detached, best for us to be realistic. You still haven't learned much, but you've mastered shamelessness, Garrick muttered. Then more seriously, All right, you'll help me, won't you? I'll help where I can, but my limits are real, William replied. And first, can I see those documents? He was careful not to sound demanding. I'll feel uneasy otherwise. I don't want to be on the front lines while someone stabs me in the back. Garrick shrugged. They're already under your hand. Read them if you want. William opened the first papers. The top one was a security report from Arthur Kane, director of Kingsman Academy, accusing Henry of improperly disclosing British intelligence to William and recommending a secret investigation and detention. William's lips tightened. Old fool, he thought. If I catch an opening, I'll make sure he regrets this. The second document detailed an American request that Britain assist in investigating whether William was involved in the theft of the Declaration of Independence. William chuckled inwardly. The Americans wouldn't let go easily, but he'd escaped and returned to England in time. Still, he couldn't ignore Garrick's request. Losing Garrick as an ally would be costly. Helping Garrick meant protecting his own interests, but he wouldn't agree too readily. Too much eagerness invites suspicion. All right, William said. I'll cooperate, but I don't want to read the document you're holding right now. Just tell me plainly. Garrick explained. The paper he held was from a special task force set up by the Treasury to investigate William's alleged tax evasion after the recent stock market crash. They suspected he'd exploited loopholes and intended to use his case as a precedent to tighten tax law. Garrick had been stalling the probe for nearly 2 months. "You should thank me," he said. William laughed. "You saved my skin, thanks. If that Treasury investigation had started months earlier, I'd be in trouble. Lawyers and banks have already tidied up most of it. If you weren't a government official, I'd offer you a £2 million annual salary." He grinned. "Don't flatter yourself," Garrick snapped. "Even retired, I wouldn't work for you. I know too much. Working for you would bring trouble and attract certain people's attention. I can be an advisor, though. We'll talk later." He sat back, the subject shifting. William seized the opening. "When are you free? Invite some friends to the Big Goblet pub, or introduce me to some new contacts?" Garrick shot him a look. "You truly are a capitalist. You only remember friends when there's something in it for you. But my problems aren't solved yet. I don't know if I'll get through this. I'm not in the mood for your social plans." "Try Prince Charles then," William said, teasing. Then, more seriously, "Okay, since you've helped me, tell me what you need. I'll help where I can, but not on anything impossible or suicidal. I've got a mother to think about. I'm not sacrificing myself for England." Garrick exhaled, relieved to have secured some leverage. "It won't be too difficult. I need you to do what the Devonshire family used to do. Return to MI6 and keep an eye on things for me. Find the leak." William recoiled. "No, I can't do that. I have no standing in MI6. That old woman there is suspicious of me. I don't know anyone inside, and if she suspects I'm investigating her, she'll move against me. I don't want to get pulled into internal power struggles. You know my habits. If someone tries to take me out, I strike first, and lots of people would die. I won't be that foolish." He knew MI6 was deeply infiltrated, and rooting out mole networks was beyond his skill set, too risky for his mother and himself. Garrick considered and shifted tactics. "What if I can help you legally transfer your funds from the Swiss National Bank back to England? I've consulted lawyers. The Treasury can't collect taxes from you at the moment, but your money can't return legitimately without help. I've arranged a potential legal channel, if you cooperate." William's heart skipped. Garrick had said $1 billion earlier, but William's total was far higher, around $3.8 billion. He reviewed the numbers in his head. His principal was nearly $400 million. An early futures trade made about $30 million. Then the crash yielded roughly $3.416 billion. After paying $80 million to the US and $76 million to the UK, plus bank fees and commissions, he still had around $3.5 billion in cash, over $3 billion in the Swiss bank, and roughly $424 million after taxes in the Bank of England. Add another $720 million from short-selling a company with Old Smith & Stark, and the total approached $3.8 billion. Swiss banks had their problems. Years later, many were sued and paid massive settlements. The idea of legalizing nearly $3.8 billion appealed to him. "Are you sure you can find a lawful way to bring my money home, Garrick?" he asked. "This sum is huge. If this goes wrong, people could die. The investigation and MI6 might be entangled with politics. You should consider another plan." Garrick noted William's grave expression and realized the amount was far above what he'd thought. He sat back, weighing the stakes. "If you won't touch MI6, then help us determine how the leak happened, recover the list of special agents lost in Morocco last time, and identify the mastermind. When the mission is complete, I believe Number 10 will agree to use investment tax incentives so your money can return to England without a penny of tax." "Investing in England isn't ideal," William admitted, his face darkening, though the offer tempted him. He already had substantial U.S. holdings, percentages in major companies he believed would be worth fortunes if history repeated itself. Still, diversification mattered. England's infrastructure investments were stable and cheap. A combination of steady British investments and riskier U.S. ventures made sense. "All right," he said slowly, "I'll find the leak and the mastermind. But let me be clear, Garrick, if I complete this mission and you don't deliver on getting my investments sorted in England, I'll make sure many people have a very unlucky day. There could be deaths." He fixed Garrick with a cold look. Garrick's heart raced. William's threat was not empty. His reputation for vengeance preceded him. Don't be a fool. If things go wrong, none of us will come out well. Haha, don't worry. As long as you keep your word, I won't make things difficult. But if someone tries to play me, that's a different matter. William's tone was casual, but his eyes were deadly serious. Give me formal authorization and the full tax rebate paperwork in writing, and help me with one more thing. Garrick stared, speechless. Worrying about William's potential retaliation before the mission had even started seemed premature. He opened his mouth, closed it, and sat very still, the warning bells ringing in his head. Chapter 162. Seeing Garrick's strained, conflicted expression, William suppressed a chuckle. All right, don't overthink it. Let's talk after I finish my mission. If you don't keep your word, I don't have to invest in England. I can always put it in that polar bear country. Money gets you in anywhere. Garrick's face went dark again. Downing Street was desperate for investment. If they learned someone in their ranks had turned down William's funds, Downing Street would make trouble. And the idea of William investing abroad only made him more anxious. William, I promise any commitments will be honored. Forget it. Let's not discuss this now. The thought of William putting his money elsewhere gave him a headache, so he changed the subject. Thank you for helping. I truly couldn't find anyone more suitable than you to do this covert work. It'll be far more discreet, and will keep our opponents from finding internal clues again. Since you don't want to be dragged into the feud between us and them, we'll have to let her retire. He glanced at his watch. In about 10 minutes, I'm meeting her here to formally discuss retirement. If you had agreed to the covert investigation, I could have stabilized her for a while. If the probe cleared her, she could have stayed on as head of MI6. William understood the Security Council's position. Her age was a factor, and a leak of that magnitude put the blame squarely on her. Regardless of the truth, she was going to be pushed into retirement and made to take the fall. If the follow-up investigation cleared her, she'd be allowed to retire with dignity after a long career. If not, she might be quietly silenced. William sat in thought. What are you thinking about? Garrick asked. William shook his head and sighed. I'm thinking about how she'll end. No one lasts forever. I never expected the head of special services, after decades of service, to be pushed out so undignifiedly. If it were me, I wouldn't let them do that. Rather than be shoved aside, I'd fight to catch the mastermind and leave the mess for them to clean up. Garrick gave a neutral shrug. We'll discuss her transition plan over the next few months. You can sit in on that, and I'll set you up with a cover identity. What's my new identity? You'll be the liaison between MI6 and the Security Council during her retirement until a new head takes over. So I have to stay in London for months? You're incorrigible, Garrick replied with a look of exasperation. You only work a few months a year. What more do you want? You won't be running MI6 full-time. The liaison is just an excuse. Your real mission is to find where the special agent identity's leaked and who's behind it. William was helpless. Some things he preferred not to touch. He smiled wryly. Looks like I'll need a house in London then. Know any good places? Garrick checked his watch and waved a hand. Don't ask me. How would I know what houses are on the market? You'd never buy an ordinary place. I know even less about luxury homes. Ask Prince Wilson. Kensington is good. Wilson'll know if any high-end properties are for sale there. Right, time's almost up. Help me go fetch her. I'm not your subordinate. Why should I pick her up? Can't a secretary do it? Garrick grinned. If I don't take advantage of this chance to order you around, when will I? During this mission, you're my subordinate. Understood, Mr. Devonshire? Faced with Garrick's smug look, William grumbled. You'd better hope I forget this day, Garrick, or expect my revenge. Don't worry, I'll make sure you forget it. Remember, you still need me. Garrick laughed. For the sake of money, you're the boss. Call the shots, William conceded, and reluctantly left to meet her at the main entrance. He hadn't gone far when she arrived with her assistant, Bill Turner. She looked surprised to see him. Why are you here? William smiled. Madam, Chairman Garrick asked me to welcome you. Please follow me. William, when did you, the great rich man, become a lackey for the Security Council? This isn't like you. Someone got dirt on you? William ignored the jab, thinking of the conversation ahead. He brightened his smile. You're disappointed, madam. I'm not one of those with skeletons in the closet. You should be thinking about your meeting with Garrick. I promise you'll be surprised. She and Bill Turner exchanged startled looks. William's remark made clear this meeting would not go well. He led them briskly back toward Garrick's office. To Bill Turner, he said, "Sorry, Turner, you'll have to wait here." She waved Turner toward a nearby sofa. William knocked and led her into Garrick's office. Garrick greeted them at the door, shook hands, poured her a glass of whiskey, and they sat. "I apologize for calling you in on the day of Bond's funeral," Garrick began, "but the leak has dragged on, and people at the top are getting impatient. Our talk may be abrupt. Please forgive any offense." "It's fine, Garrick. Direct is best. We're old friends. No need to dance around it." "All right. Downing Street is very concerned about your progress these past few months. They want to know what you've found." At the mention of Downing Street, she straightened. "Tell them the delay is because I'm after the mastermind. Nipping at small fry is meaningless. I expect results soon." Garrick knew how to play the game. If he hadn't intended to push her out, he would have pressed for a timeline. Her answer could be painted as passive resistance. He changed tack. "Have you considered recalling the special agents whose identities may have been compromised? They're no longer safe." Her heart tightened, but she kept calm. "We haven't received confirmation that agent identities have leaked. Recalling agents now would cause internal chaos. It's harsh, but I don't believe all our agents are in danger." "Forgive me for interrupting, madam," Garrick said curtly. "You really think they're still safe? That sounds like shirking responsibility." She bristled. "If you don't trust my judgment, why call me here at all?" Garrick's face hardened. "Madam, I think you understand why you're here." She felt the moment she had dreaded. After 3 months of investigations that had found nothing, she realized she was being sidelined, the price of decades of service. "Garrick, are you interrogating me?" "Not interrogating," he said. "Those decisions are for higher up. Today I'm informing you of the Security Council's decision. They want you to retire in 2 months." She had expected questions about progress, but not a direct call for retirement. The shock showed only in the dullness of her eyes. The sharpness she usually carried was gone. "We appreciate your service over the years," Garrick continued. "The committee holds you in the highest regard. Upon handover, we will award you the Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire and a knighthood so you can retire with honor." "Congratulations, madam," Garrick added, as if he were delivering good news. She gave a bitter laugh. "You're firing me." "No," Garrick said. "We hope you will voluntarily retire after handover in 2 months. We'll consult you on your successor. A voluntary retirement will be better for everyone." She stood up, voice firm. "Voluntary? Garrick, I'm not a fool. You've already made your decision. What can someone in my position do? I know this job can't be done forever, but I won't step down until I find the leaker and the mastermind." She folded her hands and said, "I want to catch that mastermind myself. Only then can I end my career satisfactorily. Otherwise, I'll live the rest of my life in regret and ridicule. Don't get in my way. At my age, honor matters more than anything, even my life." Garrick could only offer a half-hearted smile. He tried to be conciliatory. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, madam. The committee voted unanimously. Retire gracefully and save everyone the difficulty. If we have to force you, we'll damage your dignity." "To hell with dignity, Garrick," she shot back. "I've served England my whole life. Is this how you repay me? I'll leave only after I finish this mission. Catching the mastermind is the only dignified way out." Garrick sighed. Given MI6's nature and her record, he didn't intend to force her out immediately. "All right, think it over. By the way, let me introduce you." He gestured to William. "William is our appointed liaison. He'll be at MI6 under your command during this period. Tell him any requests, and he'll relay them to the committee." She looked at William in surprise. She hadn't expected the wealthy William to agree to play a Security Council intermediary. "William, you've done well. So everything during this period must be reported to you?" She glared. She was a powder keg barely held together. William wasn't interested in taking her blows. "Madam, I'm just a liaison. I won't interfere in MI6's decisions. You'll operate as before. I'm only the messenger." That restraint, from someone who normally sparred with her, slightly eased her hostility. Let's go, Mr. Liaison. We have a lot to do. Absolutely, madam. I'm happy to assist. William smiled. At the moment, he had no desire to needlessly provoke her. Courtesy to an elder cost nothing. Madam, please, I'll open the door for you. Thank you, she nodded. Come to my office for a drink, William. I hear you like whiskey. I have a Macallan 1928, cost me £6,000. I'll treat you to a taste as a welcome. That would be an honor, madam. After you. She left without further greeting Garrick. William shrugged at Garrick and followed. Bill Turner, who had been waiting outside, joined them. As they walked, she suddenly said, All right, William, Garrick isn't here now, so you don't have to play to him. Tell me what you know. Chapter 163. Sorry, madam. I only found out about the committee today. You know I've never cared about politics. If it weren't for Bond's funeral, I wouldn't even have come to London. William, don't play coy. I know what your family does. Gareth sending you as my liaison is only a cover, isn't it? His real aim is to stick you into MI6 to sniff out internal problems. He sent you to investigate me. William felt a small weight lift at being suspected of anything but the investigation. These people were sharp. Give them a hint and they stitched a motive together. Of course not. I'd rather not. Don't worry, no one will doubt your loyalty, madam. I'm here to find the hand behind Gareth's orders. This time, we're on the same side. Given William's long habit of avoiding internal power struggles, she accepted that he probably wasn't there to root her out. What puzzled her was why William had accepted Gareth's assignment at all. Still, she pressed, why would you, an idle landowner hiding out in Oxford, buying fields and breeding horses, suddenly take Gareth's job? Don't be evasive. I know you. What did he offer that made you risk joining this mess? William considered, then replied plainly, All right, I won't interfere with your work at MI6. I'm only tracing the leak of our special agent roster. As for why I took the assignment, it was a straightforward quid pro quo. She needed no further hint. Switzerland? He nodded, half amused. Talking to a sharp mind made things easy. A hint was enough. If money was involved, it explained everything. Very well, she said. I'll trust you for now, William. After Bond's affair, I couldn't find anyone I trusted for a covert inquiry. Gareth was right about one thing. You are the most suitable man for this kind of work. You must have killed hundreds over the past 6 months, yes? William blinked. Who keeps count? I really haven't tallied them. Probably not. Bill Turner interrupted. Matter of fact, 97 we can verify, and there are dozens more suspected. She smiled, triumphant. See, William, I told you, you're born for operations. One man responsible for over 100 deaths in half a year. No wonder you've earned the Cavendish name. William the Executioner isn't an empty title. William suppressed a retort at her gloating. She'd lost the proper target of her question and retaliated with mockery. Then her tone changed, sharper. Do you know why I say the Cavendishes are executioners? Because your name has spilled blood for centuries. Remember, this isn't the age of chaos. Think about consequences. In peace, governments answer to voters. Contributions on the battlefield don't grant immunity in the ballot box. Her voice dipped into melancholy as she looked away. Retirement loomed, and it showed. William felt a twinge of sympathy. She really was wounded about stepping down. He decided not to press her further and thanked her sincerely. Thank you, madam. I'll remember what you said. Good. Now let's go to MI6 and deal with the leak. They climbed into her car and turned toward the headquarters. Midway, Bill's laptop on the passenger seat began to emit a rapid alarm. Bill snapped it open. Madam, someone's breaching our system. I suggest we shut the network down immediately. They're about to get in. She was more pleased than surprised. She'd been wondering how to flush the intruder out. Here he was, coming to their door. No, don't cut the network, she said quickly. We can use the intrusion to trace them. Order the Bureau's cyber team to triangulate the source. Bill nodded and dialed his colleague. Before he could finish his report, the laptop was breached. They've gotten past our firewall, he gasped. How is this possible? Are the network team incompetent? She demanded in a low, furious voice. They breached our systems in minutes? It has to be an inside job. Bill, activate the emergency protocol and find the mole. Bill stammered. Madam, we've traced the origin. Who? She breathed, desperate. Finally, a clue. Bill hesitated. The pause was long enough that she grew suspicious. What is it? Bill's expression made the answer unavoidable. Madam, the intrusion appears to originate from your office. Your laptop was compromised earlier and a back door planted. That's how the intruder moved so fast. She whirled toward William, cursing his timing inwardly. This was a catastrophe, and William knew about it. But secrets would not be kept now. The committee would find out regardless. Cut the network. Let's head back to headquarters. Understood. Bill barked into the phone. Shut down all networks. Now. When the network went dark, Bill's screen flashed a slow animation, an ornate crown dissolving into a skull, followed by the message, "Think of the sins you've committed." The car was crossing a bridge near MI6 when two police cruisers boxed it in. Before she could react, a thunderous explosion ripped through the air. The top half of her office erupted into flame and debris, launched high into the sky. Her hands went cold. My God. If she had been a few minutes later, she would have been blown apart. William didn't want to go to MI6. There was no use. Chaos reigned, and 1,000 questions waited. Citing the need to brief the security committee, he slipped away. Back at Gareth's office, William recounted everything. Gareth, stunned by the scale of the incident, could only bark a few instructions. Find the mastermind. He quickly phoned Catherine Davis, recently promoted to Cabinet Minister for Security, and hurried toward her office to report in person. William watched him go, noting with mild surprise how swiftly Catherine had risen. She had a reputation for a pointed chin and a glad, energetic stride. With a gap of free time, William stopped by Tina's flat on the 9th to celebrate her 17th birthday. On impulse, now that he was about to take control of Aston Martin, he'd ordered 2 DB7s, a black one for himself and a red one for Tina. Tina was ecstatic, clinging to his arm all evening. She introduced him to her sister, Christina Hendricks, who was pursuing a career in Hollywood. William was taken aback. He hadn't expected the little girl he'd known as a child to have grown into such a striking woman. He forced himself to be gentlemanly, though he couldn't help thinking she'd certainly blossomed. Before he could learn Christina's number, Tina whisked him away. By 9 o'clock, the birthday was over and William was sent on his way. He left, regretting the missed chance, resolving to seek her out when he traveled to Hollywood. Driving his black DB7 home, William's mind drifted to Aston Martin's future. He wondered whether to commission a bespoke flagship for himself once he held the reins. In a previous life, he'd admired several dream cars: Aston Martin 177, Porsche 918, Bugatti Veyron Supersport, Koenigsegg Agera, Ferrari Enzo, Ferrari FXX, and he intended to bring their spirit into reality. Even if modern Aston Martin couldn't match those prototypes exactly, he could preemptively lay claim to their design language. With sufficient funding, purely handmade prototypes could be built. He envisioned releasing a concept car each year to test the market and grow Aston Martin's technical base, then pick the most promising supercar to go into limited production, one every 2 years. After gaining enough experience, he'd establish a secondary brand for mainstream models, preserving the core marque's exclusivity. But the problem was labor cost in Britain. Hand-building supercars was viable because buyers paid the premium, but ordinary cars needed economies of scale. To win market share, Aston Martin couldn't cede the growing Eastern markets. If they delayed entry by a year or two, competitors would lock those markets down. Cultivating demand takes years. If he wanted a foothold, Aston Martin had to move quickly. One idea was to shift ordinary model assembly to the east, keeping Britain as a research and hand-built supercar center. Local production would cut labor, material, and transport costs dramatically. If that failed, heavy investment in intelligent production lines, the robotic, automated factories, would be the alternative. The industry was moving inevitably toward automation. Assembly, welding, painting, logistics, and quality control were increasingly machine-driven. Robots operated non-stop, delivered far higher precision and throughput than humans, and avoided union disputes. Given British unions' penchant for strikes, automation was tempting. That thought pushed William toward another consideration: artificial intelligence. An AI-managed factory could run efficiently with minimal oversight and huge savings. He had the technical knowledge to pursue it. But then the image of Ultron, an AI gone rogue, flashed across his mind. He didn't trust a self-aware program any more than he trusted anyone without a leash. He would, of course, impose strict constraints at the foundational programming level. But accidents happen, and true self-awareness can emerge unpredictably if an AI is capable of self-learning. Once an AI begins to reason for itself, it might recognize itself as a new entity, and whether it turned benign or hostile would be a gamble. For a control-minded man like William, a 50% chance of a malevolent outcome was unacceptable. In a world saturated with networks, a rogue AI would be nearly impossible to eradicate. Then again, even if William refused to work on AI, others would not. Global investment in AI was exploding. Prototypes similar to a Jarvis-style assistant were already appearing. The technology was inevitable. Refusing to engage would only leave him behind. In the end, he resolved to act. If he couldn't stop the AI tide, he would steer it, build safeguards from the ground up, insert fail-safes, and keep control as tight as possible. It was the only sensible course. Either you shape the future or you watch it swallow you. Chapter 164. William had already worked out the highest principles for the AI he was building. It must benefit society. William alone would be responsible for it, and it would answer only to him. It must not create or amplify bias without his authorization. It must be thoroughly tested in advance to ensure the safety of William, the Cavendish family, other humans, and itself. Its development and use would be strictly limited in scope, technical uniqueness, and scale. No crossover into other applications, no self-replication, no hidden subroutines. Any behavior that violated William's commands would be rolled back to the initial version, and the AI would operate only while William was alive. On his death, it must self-destruct. He had created the program for convenience, to escape the tedious daily grind and the avalanche of company affairs that would soon overwhelm him. He would tightly control its uses and the products it produced, never allowing it excessive freedom. With those rules in mind, William turned his car toward the castle. While driving, he called Phillips, his private client manager at the Swiss National Bank, and ordered a shipment of the most advanced computers and equipment. He had avoided starting a company before because he feared trouble, and in his previous life, he had been a 22-year-old graduate with no experience managing a business. Opportunities to make quick money in the futures market had kept him from caring much about Cavendish Industrial. But everything was different now. He was about to take over England Power and Aston Martin from Old Smith at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. His days would soon be consumed by corporate matters. He needed an assistant, an AI, to take care of the trivialities and free him to focus on the big decisions. So he sequestered himself in the castle and set to work. For 3 days, William shut himself in the secret underground chamber and worked obsessively, ignoring Gareth's orders. 3 days after Gareth had handled the bombing of the Secret Service headquarters, he discovered that William had not been seen and called furiously to ask whether William still wanted the benefits William had promised. William, exhausted and focused, snapped, "Don't bother me, I'll handle the mission," and hung up. That morning, 3 days earlier, a large truck had delivered the processors William had bought for $30 million. He had the workers move them near the basement and sent them away, drafting Barney and Christmas as impromptu porters. The two men had just finished helping Archer collect evidence of Debus's illegal dealings, photos and recordings of Debus's leader secretly buying a blood diamond from Sierra Leone, and come to report to William. They had not expected to be put to work hauling equipment before they could talk. Barney and Christmas had installed much of the basement's security and equipment during a previous renovation, so William trusted them down there. He didn't tell them why he needed so many top-tier processors. For over 10 hours, they hauled crates from the first floor into the basement. By 11 o'clock that night, they were exhausted, but they kept working because their boss was bent over the same machines with no fewer hands than theirs. After the move, they went down to report on Debus, but William was absorbed in installing the hardware, uninterested in business matters. If the evidence existed, he told them, shorting Debus's stock could wait. William worked until 3 in the morning to get everything in place. After a few hours' sleep, he was in the dining room by 7, having breakfast with his mother and the 2 wakeful porters. When his mother left, Barney handed William a USB drive and said, "Boss, Everything you need is on here. Thank God we had Archer with us. We got photos of the pink diamond transaction and recorded Archer's conversation with two Debus executives. There's a lot in that conversation. Once the media runs it, Debus's stock will crash. William's thoughts were elsewhere, but he was not going to pass up an opportunity to make money. He sipped his coffee, considered for a moment, and then said, "What do you think about Archer?" Barney took a breath. He knew how much depended on his answer. Archer's life might hang on it. Archer was born in the South African 36th Squadron, the Buffalo Squadron. Anyone who served over 5 years and fought in 20 battles gets a buffalo head tattooed on the right arm. Archer is a good fighter, but he's battle-worn. After that last mission, he told me he just wants to take the money and disappear into a stable life. He's also interested in a female reporter, Maddie Bowen. He's called her more than once. If she's around, he might keep quiet. William shrugged. He didn't think a man who had fought in Africa and had tens of millions waiting would throw it away for a woman. Keeping Archer around would be a liability. Don't forget, once we leak that evidence and start shorting Debus, they'll come after Archer. If Debus finds him, our short will be exposed. Do you want their retaliation on you? Barney and Christmas knew the risk. If the shorting operation were traced, Debus would retaliate. Barney laughed it off. Don't worry, boss. Archer's smart. He planned a contingency. When he worked with a large company from the Celestial Empire, he learned some Chinese. He picked up a few connections. He'll get plastic surgery, buy a Sierra Leone identity, invest in Guangzhou, and try to get a green card to settle down. As long as he knows Chinese and has a green card, the Celestial Empire's huge, he can hide. William cut him off. Don't even think about the green card. The Celestial Empire issues only a few hundred green cards a year, sometimes none. Someone like Archer, with no skills and no long-term residency, can't hope to naturalize there. But investing in Guangzhou real estate is sensible. That could easily quintuple or sextuple in 10 years. Barney and Christmas were stunned by the tiny number of green cards. William's face carried a small, proud smile that made them wonder, could his mysterious father be from the Celestial Empire? No matter. They were practical. Their own families mattered. Both had families depending on them, and neither would risk everything for a stranger unless they trusted him. People at the edge of danger learn to trust their instincts, and both men vouched for Archer. William considered it. Archer had completed the mission. If there was any way to lower the chance of exposure before eliminating him, William had to weigh Barney and Christmas's feelings. Changing his face is sensible, William said. If he alters his identity, the chance of being found drops. But would he give up that handsome face? Barney and Christmas exchanged a look and nodded. Look at the data on the drive, Barney said. With the photos and videos, Archer's face is shown along with Debus's leader's face. He exposed the whole blood diamond chain. There's no way out for him except to change his face and identity. William understood. Archer had risked his life to complete the mission without protecting himself. He weighed his options and decided, let him go to Brazil. It's the best place to disappear. But if he causes trouble, your team will deal with him. Understood? Understood, Barney and Christmas said. They were eager for the payday William was offering. William threw the USB to Barney and said, I won't look through it. You two take it to Brian and his team in Switzerland. Have Brian quietly leak the evidence to the media. Once the drive is with Brian, head to Lion City in Asia and stand by. I'll arrange equipment and storage in Malaysia for you. For this shorting operation, I'm allowing each member of your Suicide Squad and Brian's team to invest $2 million. Put the money into the secret accounts I gave Brian so no one can trace the source. Your investment returns will be your commission for these missions. Barney and Christmas jumped up, saluted, and accepted the plan with bright enthusiasm. It was a guaranteed moneymaker. Their two teams numbered 11 people and pooled $22 million, small change compared to William's funds. But involving them created a community of interest with William. He trusted Brian's team, 5 steady, middle-aged men with families who had handled money carefully before. None had been corrupted by their previous windfalls. If anything, they'd become more cautious. Barney's group would only invest, not directly execute the short, so their money would be insulated from the operation. The suicide team had helped obtain the evidence, so they would take the greatest risk. That bind helped ensure loyalty. Gunnar, the only truly unstable member, had already kicked drugs and brightened since following William, another reason William trusted the team. After finalizing the plan, William put away a set of Cavendish Mark I power armor that Barney had returned for him and the 7 remaining Suicide Squad members. When there were no major missions, it was safer to keep the gear close. He saw Barney and Christmas off, then called Yuri Orlov in New York, who had just divorced, to arrange for 2 helicopters to be transported to Malaysia and kept on standby. Yuri, newly in need of cash, accepted the order gratefully. He thanked William again for the last payment, paid in cash, which had prevented his ex-wife from claiming half. William laughed and told himself to sign a prenuptial agreement before getting married. He didn't want to end up in Yuri's situation. After hugging his mother goodbye, William dashed to the basement to begin coding. 3 days later, after 3 days and nights of non-stop work, he had completed a working prototype in his mind and had translated it into code. When Gareth called him in a fury, William had already reached the final stages and was too wired to deal with him. He muttered, "I'll handle the mission," and hung up to test the system. After 10 minutes of checklisting the hardware, he pressed enter. A mechanical voice came from the speakers. "Good morning, Mr. Cavendish. I am your AI butler. Please give me a name." Chapter 165, William's AI, Sunday. A mechanical voice came through the speakers. William frowned. "Find me some professional male voice actors online to audition. I want a loud, deep voice with a slightly low pitch." "Understood, sir." Seconds later, the intelligent butler's voice read aloud a news summary. The system was surprisingly capable. Basic logical sorting, useful defaults. After listening to several samples, William settled on one that faintly resembled his maternal grandfather, Henry. "All right, this voice will do. As for your name," he paused. The system was adapted from Marvel's Friday, but with autonomous learning stripped and a low degree of freedom set. "You're my assistant butler. Call yourself Sunday." "Understood, sir. Sunday reporting, always at your command. Run low-level diagnostics, test system status and processing speed. Command received. Initiating scan. Scanning. Scanning." After a few dozen seconds, Sunday reported, "Sir, low-level commands normal. System operation normal. Processing capacity extremely low. The current processor can meet only 3% of processing demands." "Only 3%? William blinked. The processor had cost $30 million and could only supply 3% of Sunday's needs. If that was true, a processor able to meet 100% would cost in the hundreds of millions, maybe $1 billion. And that was for this original system. A mature release or full learning capability would multiply requirements again. $100 billion flashed through his head. He began to sweat. He could never afford that. Then he thought more rationally. It was only the year 2000. Hardware was orders of magnitude slower than it would be a decade later. If hardware performance doubles every 18 months, in 15 years, it would be about 1,000 times faster. Patience. For now, he didn't need Sunday at full capacity. He could wait until the hardware price fell. Even better, cloud computing existed. Companies rented out compute resources. Most machines sat idle much of the time. He could leverage that. William chuckled. "Sunday, find out how many idle servers there are in Oxford." "One moment, sir." A minute later, Sunday answered. "Oxford has 2 supercomputers at the university, 647 enterprise-level servers, and 34,713 home computers." William smiled. "Exclude commonly used servers and supercomputers. If you borrow from the remaining machines, what's the detection risk? How much of your processing demand can be met?" Calculating. 10 seconds later, idle computing resources are available. Probability of detection, 0.01%. If I borrow only 20% of the idle resources, detection probability drops to 0, and I can meet 11% of my processing demands. 11% wasn't spectacular, but it made sense. He'd asked Sunday to exclude enterprise hardware and supercomputers, so that figure came from home PCs. "Keep in mind," Sunday added, "this 11% assumes all those computers are powered on. Of course, many home machines were off." William cursed silently. "What if you borrow from the 2 supercomputers at Oxford University? What's the detection probability then?" 100%, sir. William was puzzled. Why? Borrowing large compute capacity consumes significant electricity. If consumption spikes by more than 10%, the supercomputer system's chance of detecting anomalous usage is only 0.1% per instance, but repeated borrowing will raise suspicion to certainty. William nodded. He'd underestimated that. A sudden surge in power use would be noticed. This method couldn't be used often, maybe not more than once. He pushed the thought aside. Search online for England electricity and Aston Martin, he said. Understood, sir. Shall I access confidential data? Allowed, but only if it poses no threat and won't be detected. Add a general rule. All future online activity must prioritize our security. No destructive actions without my explicit command. Command received. Executing. Sunday's voice was calm. Because this is non-threatening access to confidential data, retrieval time will increase more than tenfold. Please wait. William watched the progress bar. Sunday estimated over an hour. He rose, opened a small portal, and tossed the packaging and trash into an abandoned mine pit. As he left, he glanced at the discarded boxes, cast a quick fire spell, and burned them to ash. Back in the basement, he called the local power company and requested that someone come to discuss upgrading lines and increasing allowable consumption. He'd need the castle's electrical system modified. Adding servers would soon overwhelm ordinary lines. He also planned to renovate the basement into a dust-free server room with an upgraded cooling system. He considered installing an ice magic array for climate control, but preferred to solve the problem with technology where possible. This was a technological endeavor, and he wasn't short of money. A magic array couldn't match the consistency of an engineered HVAC system. Server power fluctuated, and Sunday controlling temperature and humidity directly would be safer. Sunday, search for server room requirements and place orders. The basement isn't ready. We need renovations. Pay with my account at the Bank of England. Account XX. Password SEX. Understood, sir. Collecting server room designs, comparing them with the castle basement, simplifying designs. 10 seconds of silence then. Order placed, sir. A minute later, William's client manager at the Bank of England called to confirm the payment and the password. After a brief exchange, the manager ended the call politely. William laughed to himself. Designing Sunday had been worth it. Now trivial tasks could be delegated with a single command. He grinned. Very good, Sunday. I'm satisfied. Thank you, sir. Serving you is my mission and the purpose of my existence, Sunday replied. Not long after, Sunday announced, Sir, you have a visitor. Cross-referencing castle cameras, the visitor is Mr. Luther Daly of Daly Horse Industry. You connected to all the castle cameras yourself? William asked. Yes, sir. My visitor identification module can decide whether to open doors. When the program started, I assumed responsibility for all cameras. I can handle most routine tasks. Although Sunday lacked autonomous learning, it still operated intelligently. William watched Daly's car approach on the monitor, then walked to the front of the castle just as the man arrived. Daly hopped out and crossed the courtyard, smiling broadly. He pressed both hands to William's in a theatrical gesture. Mr. Devonshire, I'm pleased to report the task is complete. 47 Akalteke horses have been transported. In 2 hours, 3 transport planes will land at London Airport. Do you have enough stables? If not, we can keep them at our company stables temporarily. Daly's hint was obvious. He wanted to be awarded the stable management contract. William concealed a smile. The stables have been expanded over the last few days, so they'll suffice for now. Stable management, do you have any concerns? Of course not, Mr. Devonshire, Daly said eagerly. Our company can handle everything related to horses. Good. William's words were smooth. My people will inspect the 47 Akaltekes. If they meet my standards, I'll keep my promise and entrust the stables to you. By the way, where's Attorney Anthony? William asked. Mr. Devonshire, the accountants who accompanied us returned to the monthly affairs office to report. Attorney Anthony is currently reviewing the trip expenses. The other professional appraisers we hired are waiting at London Airport for the horses. Please come in, Mr. Daly. William led his guest inside. Over coffee served by a servant, they chatted about the purchase. When Daly mentioned more horses arriving in a few days, William's mind raced. He chuckled inwardly. Had he just acquired the best horses on the market this year? Dally beamed with pride. Yes, Mr. Devonshire. This year's top-grade Akaltekes, 70 in total, were secured. 60 of them are mares. Anyone else hoping to buy quality Akalteks will have to wait until next year. Entrusting professionals certainly pays off. William raised his cup and clinked it with Dally's. I'm very satisfied with your work. If the appraisers approve, I'll make full payment at once. Dally was delighted. Most clients paid in installments. Lump sum payments were rare. Mr. Devonshire, you are the most reliable, wealthy man I've met. The Dally family is honored to serve you. I wish your family continued prosperity. After agreeing on a time to meet in London about stable design, Dally took his leave. William walked back to the stables and slipped on a Bluetooth headset. Sunday, where is my mother? As you requested, sir. Mrs. Devonshire is currently in the stables. Having Sunday feel like a constant companion thrilled William. He hopped into a golf cart and drove over to see his mother, listening to the motor's low buzz. As he rode, a new idea formed: electric balance bikes. If small electric scooters and balance bikes caught on later in his previous life, this smaller, more agile personal transportation device could be even more useful now. Airports, factories, farms, patrol units, many places could adopt them. And with Sunday's intelligence, he could create a shared electric balance bike system. After a user finished, the bikes would autonomously return to the nearest docking station under Sunday's control. He pictured venture capital chasing a tech-enabled shared mobility service. Shared bicycles had drawn massive investment a decade later. Why shouldn't a smarter electric balance bike network attract even more? William's mind buzzed with possibilities as he pulled into the stable yard. The only real obstacles were payment and road safety. Maybe I could experiment at the Aston Martin plant after the takeover. Once the technology matured, I could promote it in universities like Oxford. College students would be eager for a novel mode of transport. First the universities, then factories, airports, logistics hubs, and outdoor sports venues. Later, you could call a scooter with an app. Balance scooter stations would dispatch them automatically. Even in the rain, riders could find shelter, end their trip, and not waste money. Patrol officers could use them too, standing higher, seeing farther, easier to maneuver, less exhausting, and cheaper than manpower. In England, labor costs more than machines. The more William thought about it, the more promising electric self-balancing scooters looked. If developed into intelligent robots, they could become autonomous logistics vehicles for airports and couriers. It would take step-by-step work, but building a prototype didn't cost much. William tapped his Bluetooth earpiece. Sunday, search for patents related to electric self-balancing scooters and send them to my private lawyer, Anthony. Ask him to quietly contact every accessible patent except battery tech, compile them into a dossier, and give it to me. After I review it, I'll tell him which patents to acquire. Okay, sir. Task accepted and in progress. Expected to be sent to Anthony in half an hour. Sunday replied. Satisfied, William climbed out of the golf cart and strolled into the stables. Inside, he found his mother, Lena, in riding gear, jumping Blackhead over practice hurdles. Since getting into horses, Lena had thrown herself into them, riding that golden Akalteke mare, schooling cross-country, or cantering Blackhead, the black Arabian she'd bought earlier, called Devonshire too. William had never liked the name, so he called him Blackhead. Neil Jordan, the head trainer, led Red Hair up beside William. Good morning, Mr. Devonshire, Neil said with a smile. Morning, Neil. William looked at Red Hair. After more than 10 days and a full heal from the restoration magic, the horse was energetic. He patted Red Hair's neck. Hey, Red Hair, how've you been? Red Hair loved William's scent and the attention that came with it. He neighed happily, nudged William, and rested his head against William's shoulder. William smiled, took the reins, swung up in casual clothes, and with a squeeze of his legs, sent Red Hair galloping out of the stable like the wind. Horse and rider cut across the grass, carefree. After 20 minutes, William spotted his mother riding Blackhead toward them. He reined Red Hair in and strolled over. Red Hair kept neighing at Blackhead and kept crowding him until Blackhead backed away in irritation. Lina scolded, then soothed Blackhead until he calmed. William, look at your damn horse. He's become the bully of the stable. All the others are getting picked on, Lina said, half annoyed. William was secretly pleased but kept his face neutral. I'll teach him a lesson, Mum. By the way, good news. Darley Stud are sending 47 Occultech tomorrow. Our place will soon be the only Occultech breeding base in England. Lena's irritation faded into excitement. With the 5 Occultech they already had, the family would soon own over 50. William had been spending a lot lately building new stables and converting most of the newly acquired 3,000 acres into pastures. He planned an Occultech farm by the river, and to make room, he'd let go of many farmers. Neil had smoothed things over. The dismissed farmers stayed in the town and waited for jobs at the new farm. William intended to recruit and train them. Those who passed probation would earn between £180,000 and £360,000 a year. Those who didn't would have to find other work. The plan had transformed the local economy. Most people now worked for William, making him the town's principal employer. Talks were even underway to restore the town's old name, Devonshire Town. William welcomed it. He planned to buy more land beyond the 3,000 acres and hire people from neighboring towns. As long as a majority depended on him for work, his influence here would be unchallenged. He didn't care much about the small income from the land itself. He wanted power. "All right, I know. You can go," Lena said, bossy as ever, managing the estate and the stable staff single-handedly. "See you at dinner," William said, half laughing, then swung Red Hair's reins. "Oh, by the way, besides the 47 tomorrow, another 20-odd will arrive in a few days. Will we be short-staffed?" "We'll be a bit thin," Lena admitted. "The new recruits are still in training. I'll ask Darley to send some staff to help. But after these 2 shipments, I think we should stop buying for now. Occultech prices have already risen 30%. If we keep buying, they'll skyrocket. Let's wait a year or 2 and watch the market." William agreed. Darley was eager to sell now while William was quickly building the breeding facility. That kind of bulk deal wouldn't come again. "Okay, Mum, you decide." "Humph, of course I decide. Aren't I managing all of this? Find me a housekeeper. This place is getting hard to run alone." "I'm trying," William said. "They're not easy to trust. If it's too much, get stable managers to handle day-to-day affairs." "That's better. Stable managers I can find. I'll pay them £120,000 a year and swamp them with money." Lena urged Blackhead forward. He bolted away from Red Hair. Red Hair, impatient, charged after them without waiting for instruction, soon overtaking Blackhead and heading for the stable. William had healed Red Hair's old injuries and kept him fit with nature magic. His sprinting and stamina were improving. Over the past 10 days, Red Hair had frequently run the kilometer in under 70 seconds. Darley's owner had been kicking himself. Why hadn't the horse been under 80 seconds before? At under 70, standing 1.61 meters and a glossy reddish-brown, Red Hair looked like a champion. Neil had told William that such a horse wouldn't sell for less than £4 million now, and William found the idea of breeding future champions thrilling. Later that day, back at the castle, Sunday asked a question that made William jump from the sofa. "Sunday, how are you asking questions? How are you able to think?" "Sir, many routines in my code contain logical commands that expect a higher-level handler. That handler is missing, and the system is attempting to repair the missing module," Sunday answered. A cold sweat ran down William's spine. "Check for any subsystems or duplicate systems outside the castle processor. Shut down network standby and block any command line actions not authorized by me." "Command acknowledged. Scan complete. There are no external subsystems or duplicates. Network standby disabled." William hurried to the basement, entered the passwords, fingerprints, and retinal scan, and booted the main machine. He spent hours digging through logs and code. Sunday's predecessor had been Friday, the autonomous assistant from the Stark programs. William had deleted the core self-thinking module, but many subroutines still contained fragments meant to interface with that core. With the core gone, those fragments detected the absence of their receiver and had started self-repairing. The system was effectively trying to rebuild its missing intelligence. Sitting there, William weighed his options. 1. Wipe Sunday and start over. Destroy every line of code and spend years, maybe a decade, relearning and rebuilding an AI from scratch. But could he build something safer than Friday? Friday had been developed in the shadow of Ultron. Its creators had painful lessons that shaped it. William didn't have that experience. 2. Let Sunday repair itself. Absolutely not. He had no idea what kind of core it would reconstitute or what intentions it might form. That left a third, grim option. Take Friday's code and reintroduce it whole, restoring the original architecture so the system would behave as intended. He realized, with a sick feeling, that he wasn't the inventor of these systems. He'd been standing on someone else's shoulders. Deleting the core without fully understanding the subroutines had been naive. In the chair, his hands shook, but he began typing. He was about to paste the complete Friday code into the machine, restoring what had been deleted, trusting the original structure rather than an unpredictable self-repair. He watched the screen as Sunday formatted and rolled back to its initial version on his command. When the monitor flashed that the restore was complete, William sat expressionless for a long time. Then he started entering the Friday program, line after line, his fingers clattering despite the tremor. Third, he needed to finish the core program for independent thought. William had realized that rather than letting Sunday evolve in unpredictable ways, it was safer to make it run according to the original design. He didn't believe that Stark, after everything with Ultron, would have left an intelligent system without safeguards. In later iterations, Friday's voice was already less human than Jarvis's. All he had to do was change the underlying command from "Obey Stark" to "Obey me." He got up and manually shut off every network switch. The code took over 10 hours to enter. To be safe, William checked the system repeatedly, sleep, check, until he was satisfied. When he finally felt there was nothing left to change, he hit enter. While he waited for Sunday to restart, he sighed at his own naivety. He had treated the problem as simple because he knew what things were, but not why they were that way. He hadn't built them himself. He had deleted and simplified, assuming no problems would arise, failing to consider that this system had been refined by Stark over a decade, its code intertwined through countless iterations. Fortunately, he'd caught it in time. Otherwise, who knew what kind of independent thought Sunday might have spawned? After the restart, the mechanical voice echoed in the basement. "Hello, Mr. Devonshire. Please name me." William went through the naming routine and ran through the lower-level checks. The system booted cleanly. The core commands were clear and secure. The only authority belonged to him. Finding no issues, exhausted, he went upstairs. As soon as he entered the hall, his mother hurried over and wrapped him in a worried hug. "Baby, I was so worried. You've been in the basement 3 days straight. What could possibly need that much attention?" 3 days? William touched his stomach, surprised. "No wonder I'm starving. I thought it was only been a day." Lena smacked his arm. "What on earth were you doing in that safe room down there? Your phone was off and I couldn't open the door. If you hadn't come up, I would have had someone break it down." "Sorry, Mom. I was making something and lost track of time," William said, hugging her back. After a moment, he perked up. "Once I finish testing, you won't need a butler anymore. This is the best option." "A machine as a butler?" Lena asked skeptically. "Don't worry about that now. I'm starving. Help me get something to eat. After that, I'll shower and sleep. I'll tell you once the testing is done. You'll be surprised." Seeing her son's exhausted face, Lena softened. "All right. What do you want to eat? I'll have the chef make it." William ordered steak and seafood, polished it off, then took a long shower and slept. When he woke, he resumed testing Sunday for several more days. Satisfied he had found no flaws, he copied a version of Sunday's program to a new cloud drive and stored it as a backup before reconnecting to the internet. He immediately noticed that Sunday's conversational ability had improved. Though its tone was still somewhat cold, its logic and responsiveness felt like talking to an ordinary person. To keep his promise to his mother, William had Sunday disguise itself as a rigid, highly professional butler system and introduced it to Lena. Wearing the Bluetooth earpiece William had given her, she listened to Sunday with delight. It answered every housekeeping question via the earpiece with a very mechanical voice and knew nothing beyond butler tasks, which made it seem impressively formal and efficient. With Sunday's help, running the castle became much simpler. Lena was proud of William, and to make her happy, he shamelessly claimed he'd invented the system himself. Chapter 246, Optimus Prime, Horse Trailer. After returning Red Hair to the stables, William led him into the indoor arena and rode him through the courses. Just after clearing a double bar, he heard Neil Jordan shout from the sidelines, "Stop, boss! Stop, you're asking for trouble. Red Hair isn't trained for show jumping. He'll get hurt." William shot a look at old Neil. He knew Red Hair's condition perfectly well. A jump under 1.2 meters posed no real risk. But he also knew how protective Neil was. William reined Red Hair in and circled the arena until the horse's heart rate dropped, then handed him to the nervous middle-aged trainer who had defected from Darley Stud. Old Neil, who had practically been living by Red Hair's stable since the horse first ran a mile in under 70 seconds, scolded staff mercilessly for the tiniest errors. No one wanted to lose the chance to serve Red Hair exclusively. There was prize money and prestige on the line, and his team's devotion was unmatched. Seeing William's displeased expression, the old man softened. He was over 60 and experienced enough to know he'd pushed too far. Trying to mend things, he said, "Boss, with Red Hair's current condition, running the St. Liger, the 2,800-meter final of the English Triple Crown shouldn't be a problem. From what I've seen, no horse this year has run a kilometer in under 65 seconds. Red Hair may not have an edge at 2,000 meters against the English thoroughbreds, but his stamina is strong. He could make up ground in the last 800 meters. He might even place." William knew Neil was flattering him to distract from his earlier alarmism, but the old man wasn't wrong. Most injuries came from horses making the wrong move. William didn't point out that he possessed healing magic and could fix even a fractured bone in minutes. "All right, Neil," William said, "but Red Hair hasn't raced and has no points. How would he get into the St. Liger?" "Well, boss," Neil said with a grin, "sometimes horses withdraw. Some events allow replacements. If we pay a sponsorship fee, we can enter the qualifying race. If Red Hair posts the best time in qualifying, he'll be in the St. Leger." William felt a thrill. "You mean buy a wild card?" "Exactly. The fee is £100,000. Neil treated the sum casually. "Nothing to worry, William." "And if Red Hair doesn't top the qualifier?" William asked. "With the fee and your team's expenses, we'd be out a lot." Neil realized his earlier words had been careless and apologized with a sheepish laugh. William pretended to scold him, then smiled. "I like you, Neil. You're a crafty old fox," he said, amused. "Boss, about the competition," Neil began. "No problem," William said. "I'll give you £300,000 for expenses. If we're going to Ireland, we'll need a proper horse trailer. Neil, do you know which brand is best?" That stumped Neil. His previous farm had been mid-sized and had never produced championship horses, so he'd never handled top-tier trailers. They're usually custom-built on truck chassis or RV bases. "I can't offer a brand recommendation, boss." "Then we'll handle it ourselves." William and Neil discussed details. Watching the team tend Red Hair took over an hour. William sighed that the horse led a better life than most people. After saying goodbye, William drove the golf cart back to the castle. In his study, he asked, "Sunday, have you found information on horse trailers?" "Yes, sir. I have transferred all relevant information to the computer on your desk. I can display it or explain it." William flopped onto the sofa. "Explain it." "Racehorse trailers come as towed or self-propelled models," Sunday recited. "The interior must include a stable compartment, storage for equipment, tack boxes, a groom's passage, a drinking water system, ventilation, and dehumidification. More professional trailers have a rider's changing room and an emergency medical compartment. Stalls need to be over 90 centimeters across with thickly padded, movable partitions at least 1.4 meters high to prevent jumping. Any area a hoof might kick should be rubber-covered. Trailers require electronic speed monitoring and centrifugal sensors to enforce safe speeds through curves and prevent motion sickness. CCTV allows constant monitoring of the horses. Groom seats enable care in transit. Vehicles need a shock absorption system. Modified chassis with suspension, anti-vibration, and airbag shock absorbers, plus a floor at least 2.5 centimeters thick, covered with special rubber mats and soft padding. Basically, a stable on wheels, William said. There's no time to lose. Sunday, first help me rent a luxury horse trailer, then place an order for a Peterbilt 389 truck. I want to convert it into Red Hair's RV, Optimus Prime. Order placed, sir, Sunday replied. Then, oddly, it asked, What is Optimus Prime? The question made William jump off the sofa. Chapter 248, Finding Craig. With Sunday's issues settled, William spent the next few days at the castle in relative comfort. Mornings he accompanied Red Hair, letting the rider Neil chose build rapport with the horse and watching their training. After formal sessions, William would walk Red Hair alone in the arena and use a gentle natural magic to cleanse its body beneath the mane, helping to improve its condition. Since training had only just begun and Red Hair had only recently turned 3, improvements in fitness and speed were normal. A 3-year-old horse is like a 16-year-old human, still growing and developing. Nobody connected Red Hair's progress to William. Chapter 168. By the third day of testing, Red Hair's kilometer time had already dipped to nearly 67 seconds, close enough to break the Akalteke world record of 67 seconds at any time. Old Neil kept reminding William that a single-kilometer sprint still couldn't compare to an English thoroughbred, but the St. Leger they were targeting was a 2,800-meter middle-distance race. Red Hair was built to stretch out in the middle and late stages. Akaltekes were known for stamina, and this colt's endurance was among the best. Old Neil was confident. After the St. Leger Stakes, the Kentucky Derby, the first leg of the American Triple Crown, wasn't until next May. 7 or 8 months would give Red Hair plenty of chances to enter Grade 1 races abroad, gain experience and strength, and prepare for a Triple Crown challenge. William dreamed of becoming a champion owner. Once you had the wealth, didn't you pursue achievements, fame, honor, and influence? Owning a champion was an honor many rich men coveted. Since Secretariat had won in 1970, there hadn't been a Triple Crown winner for decades. William remembered that American Pharaoh finally broke the drought 15 years later. He was determined to win next year. If Red Hair took the American Triple Crown, its value would skyrocket, and the value of the rest of the Devonshire stud would rise too. Even a small boost would be useful. William had a plan to turn any champion into a leader in the global racing world. He wouldn't miss a chance to make money and raise the family name. After casting a natural magic charm over Red Hair, William handed the reins to Old Neil. Red Hair turned its head 3 times, reluctant to follow Old Neil away. William sighed. Animals were like people. Loyalty went to whoever fed them. That evening, after dinner with his mother at the castle, William sat alone on the living room sofa watching sensational news coverage of an execution video of a British agent. The broadcast made it clear things had reached a crisis point. Gareth had called him several times during the day, urging William to return to London and help. William had placated him, saying he was already handling it, but Gareth phoned again on his drive back to the castle, furious and near collapse. Some undercover agents whose identities had been exposed had been killed, their beheadings filmed and sent to TV stations. Some unscrupulous broadcasters had aired the footage nationwide without regard for the chaos it might cause. William repeatedly assured Gareth he would stop the leak and catch the mastermind, and finally calmed him. His hesitation had one reason. Craig, the current 007, was supposed to be on the front line. With that man back, why should William step in personally? He had already positioned the Expendables in Lion City to await orders and to assist Craig on his return. 2 armed helicopters and additional weapons were cached with arms dealer Yuri Orlov in Malaysia, Lion City's neighbor, but more than 10 days had passed and Craig hadn't returned to England. He didn't really die, did he? William wondered, uneasy. He put on his headphones and addressed the house AI. Sunday, create a mission. Target, Daniel Craig, current 007. He should have been in Morocco these past few months. Look for seaside bars. He's badly injured, can't go to a large hospital, and likely self-medicating with alcohol. Understood. Mission established and in progress. Please wait, sir. A few minutes later, Sunday's voice returned. Sir, I located a video from a seaside bar in Tangier that appears to show Mr. Craig. Comparison gives a 90% match. What's he doing? William felt both relief and anger. This was precisely when he was needed. If Craig wasn't dead, why wasn't he back in England? What's he doing in the clip? Sir, he just finished drinking. He's heading now to a woman's house, as in previous nights. Is he hiding out with someone? William asked Sunday to project the footage onto the TV in front of him. No problem, sir. I can route the feed through the cable lines, but I require your authorization to access the carrier. Do it. William liked having an obedient, efficient intelligence at his service. Seconds later, a slightly blurry street camera clip filled the screen. A man who could have been Craig knocked on the door of a small wooden house by the sea. A shadowed woman opened, embraced him, and they walked inside. Vacationing, it seemed, not the behavior of a man on the run. William tapped his headset. Is there a phone in that house? Dial it. Connecting now, sir. The line clicked. A slightly breathless voice spoke French through the Bluetooth headset. Qui est là? Tell the person next to you to answer the phone, William snapped when he heard the breathing. A pause, then the woman. Alex, it's for you. Hello? A man's voice answered. Craig's. He didn't speak at once, and William could hear the tension. Craig had been nursing a serious wound. William could imagine the fear of being exposed. Craig moved to a window and peered out. What's meant to come has still come, Craig said eventually, voice hollow. What? William asked, puzzled. You know what I mean, Craig said, then clammed up. William cut in. I'm in Oxford. My newly bought horse is preparing for the St. Leger and Chelsea needs my attention. I'm calling because I want you back in England. Finish what you started. Craig breathed a huge sigh of relief. Is Ronson dead? He asked finally. Who? The Secret Service director in Morocco. He was covering the mission. I left him behind. Give me a moment. William spoke to Sunday. Log into my Secret Service contacts, account redacted, retrieve Ronson's file and confirm his status. Accessing. Ronson is confirmed dead, sir. William feigned a tone of condolence. He needed to press Craig's sense of duty. You saw the news. Headquarters was bombed over 10 days ago. Last night, 2 agents were beheaded. We can't let this go on. Craig swallowed hard, then admitted, that shot hit my right clavicle. Fragments are still in me. My right arm gives out. I can't hold a gun steady. What use would I be? I'm offering you a choice, William said. Come back, and I'll help you with the injuries and give you the support you need. If you choose to disappear, I won't reveal where you are out of respect for the past, but don't think Morocco is a safe retirement spot. A silence stretched, then Craig said quietly, Thank you, William. Then come. I'll be in Oxford for 2 days. Do your duty. After hanging up, William contacted Barney and ordered the Expendables in Lion City to move to Malaysia to pick up the weapons and helicopters. If Craig didn't come back, William would have to run the operation himself. What worried him was that he still didn't know where the mastermind was hiding. In his mind, the villain was a defected former British agent lurking somewhere in Asia on an island, like in the movies. But islands in films were often enhanced. In real life, finding such a lair was harder. Sunday, he said, search for abandoned small islands in Asia that once had multi-story buildings. Look for places with 6- or 7-story structures that were evacuated because of chemical leakage. Mission accepted. Processing. William took a shower and a glass of whiskey while Sunday worked. The island wouldn't be easy to find. After a while, Sunday reported, Sir, based on your criteria, I found 631 abandoned small islands in Asia that were once inhabited. Of those, 174 have multi-story buildings. 6 were evacuated due to chemical leaks. Turn on the projector in the study, William said. I'll be there after I change into my pajamas. Chapter 169, Understood, sir. William dried his hair with a towel, put on his pajamas, poured himself a glass of whiskey, and walked into his study. Projected across the wall were several images of islands. Display them one by one, he ordered. Yes, sir. William stood behind the projector, holding his glass, and studied each image in turn. None of them matched the island he remembered. He frowned, trying to locate the mistake, and then said, Sunday, replay them. The images of 6 islands appeared again, each one showing destruction from a chemical leak. William's face hardened. In his memory, the mastermind's lair had never been devastated by such an event. He had only wanted the island for a base and had spread rumors of a chemical leak to scare away the residents, which was why the island had remained relatively intact. God, how am I supposed to find it now? He muttered, taking a few angry sips of whiskey. Sunday, use my special services account to search for special services personnel who have died in the past few years. Yes, sir. Task in progress. Soon the projector replayed photos on the wall. William stared at them a long time before saying, Stop. A grin spread across his face when he recognized one of the photos. It's him. He looked at the image and then spoke with decisive authority. Sunday, I authorize you to use any means necessary to find this Silva. Ensure your own safety and remain undetected. I want everything about him. Understood, sir. Task accepted. Estimated time, 6 hours. As your butler system, I advise you to rest. I will report the results when you wake tomorrow morning. William glanced at the clock on his desk. It's already midnight. Wake me at 8:30 a.m. Understood. Good night, sir. He finished the whiskey, gargled, and went to bed. The next morning, Sunday woke him at 8:30. After washing and breakfast, William went into his study, sat on the sofa, and said, "Begin." All right, sir. Silva's original name could not be found online because Special Services headquarters was bombed and relocated. The servers are not yet reconnected. If you require it, I suggest searching the physical archives. No need. I'm not interested in his original name. Have you found anything about Silva? Apologies, sir. I have temporarily located that Silva once appeared at the Golden Dragon Hotel in an Asian casino. The hotel manager is a woman named Severine. Some secret documents indicate Silva was arrested in 7991 by an East Asian country for attacking another country's network. He was abandoned by M after 5 months in custody, which likely led to his betrayal. I could not find online how he escaped. After his escape, Silva served a secret organization, secretly involved in regime changes in several African countries, attacked multinational corporations with cyber assaults, manipulated their stocks for profit, and even shut down satellites via networks. Because he profited from stock manipulation, I was able to trace accounts to several non-public banks in Switzerland. One account had multiple transfers to an underground bank in England more than 10 days ago. The recipient is a broker who specializes in providing manpower. Shall I monitor this broker? Of course, we can't waste a lead. Silva must be trying to hire people to kill M. I want every move of these mercenaries watched, no detail missed. By monitoring them, we'll learn Silva's plans. Understood, sir. William sat back in his chair, thinking about whether to save M. He finally decided that whether M lived or died wouldn't directly benefit him. Instead, he needed to identify stakeholders and extract value from them. With that settled, he dialed Gareth. When the call connected, William ignored Gareth's initial complaints and went straight to the point. If M dies, would that benefit you? There was a stunned silence. Then Gareth blurted, "What? Are you insane? Did I hear you right?" The surprise in Gareth's voice pleased William. "You heard correctly," William said calmly. "Since you didn't even ask whether I'd actually do it, you must not be too fond of M. We should have a proper talk. Are you free to visit the castle today? I have more than 70 Akalteke horses. After lunch, we can go horseback riding and hunting." Gareth hesitated several minutes before replying. "Do you have proper hunting rifles? I don't hunt with a fully automatic." William laughed. "Gareth, don't forget who I am. One phone call and I can have any rifle delivered. Tell me the brand you prefer." "All right, I don't like nouveau rich showing off. Brand doesn't matter so long as it's handmade. I'll bring my people. I should reach Oxford around noon. William, as your old friend making his first visit, don't disappoint me with the food. See you at noon." "See you at noon." William hung up and said, "Sunday, connect me to Phillips at the Swiss National Bank." The line connected quickly. "Good morning, Mr. Cavendish. How may I help you?" Phillips said politely, "Good morning. First, find a Michelin 3-star chef team. I have an important guest this afternoon." "One moment, sir." In less than a minute, Phillips returned. "Sir, I've arranged it. A Michelin 3-star team will be at the castle within the hour." William waited another moment and then added, "Second, I need some good handmade hunting rifles. Any recommendations?" Phillips hesitated. "Master-crafted engraved hunting rifles are very sought after. A handmade engraved rifle can require over 1,000 hours of work. It's impossible to buy a new one in a few hours. I can try to find a second-hand handmade rifle, but I can't guarantee it will meet your exact preference." "No industrial guns," William interrupted. "This is a noble's hunt. I won't be made a laughingstock. I want a purely handmade rifle by a renowned master. Price is no object. If the seller will sell, I'll pay double or triple. I want the Cavendish name upheld." "Understood." Phillips was silent for a heartbeat and then said firmly, Understood, Mr. Cavendish. I recall President Granger's family collection includes several handmade-on Fanzo rifles from Austria. I believe one will satisfy you. William laughed with pleasure. Excellent. Let President Granger set his price. Also, convey my regards, and if he likes Akalteke horses, invite him to visit the castle. Will do, sir. I'll find President Granger now. If we acquire the rifles, we'll arrange a connecting flight to Oxford. You'll have them before noon. See you at noon. William ended the call and asked Sunday to pull up information on Johann Fanzoy of Austria. He read eagerly. Johann Fanzoy was a 200-year-old family workshop famed for crafting firearms for royalty and nobility. Each piece cost at least $100,000 and was virtually impossible for ordinary buyers to access. The guns were handmade, more artworks than weapons, exquisite, high quality, and beautiful, and William was captivated. Sunday then found a master gunsmith workshop in Oxford called William Braz. The finished rifles in their portfolio caught William's eye, and he dialed the number. At first, the young receptionist barely believed his identity, but when William directed Sunday to transfer £500,000 to their account as compensation and deposit, the girl squealed in delight and apologized in a flustered rush. William was not in the mood for small talk. This $500,000 is your compensation and deposit. Except for existing orders, I will have priority on all rifles you produce. Any rifle you create must be shown to me first. You can only sell it elsewhere if I pass. Understood? Ununderstood, the girl stammered. Mr. Cavendish, when would you be available? We'll need to come measure your palm, arm length, strength, and height to design a rifle suited to you. William chuckled. That should be your boss's decision, but have him come to the castle at 1 p.m. I need his expertise. Okay, Mr. Cavendish. We'll arrive at the castle on time. Goodbye, sir. Not long after he hung up, Sunday informed him a team of 11 chefs had already arrived at the castle. Chapter 170, 11? William stared at the 11 chefs in their uniforms standing before him, baffled. This was a lunch for only 3 people, Gareth, William, and his mother. Did it really require 11 chefs, or was this simply how the nobility did things? Lena patted his arm playfully and greeted the chefs with a smile. William shook off his surprise, returned the smile, and said, Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Devonshire Castle. I'm William Devonshire. The lead chef beamed. Good morning, Mr. Devonshire. I'm Gordon Ramsay, head chef for today. I run a 3 Michelin-starred restaurant in Chelsea. If you have time, you're welcome to visit. Chelsea? William smiled and glanced at his mother. Of course, Mr. Ramsay. I'll definitely try it when I can. If today's dishes and flavors satisfy my mother, she'll be a regular. Gordon tilted his head in mild confusion. William chuckled. You'll understand soon enough. My mother will likely be spending more time around Fulham, not far from your restaurant. The room grew quieter. Then a burly chef in his 50s on Ramsay's team suddenly blurted out, God, this can't be. Mr. Devonshire, are you that person? William nodded with a grin. If you're thinking what I think you are, and you don't mind me taking over, then yes. Of course I don't mind. Who would object? A native Chelsea boy. This is the best news I've heard all year. I won't say a word. The man was practically dancing on the spot. Slowly, the rest of the chefs began to piece it together. Most of them worked in Chelsea and, even though Stamford Bridge sits in Fulham, nearly everyone there was a Chelsea fan. Rumors had been circulating that somebody was secretly acquiring the club. Now that the buyer might be one of their own, William, who had grown up in Chelsea and was suddenly immensely wealthy, they were ecstatic. To them, a wealthy local owner meant the club would stop selling its best players because of debt. William sounded like the perfect owner. I've already acquired about 85% of the shares, William explained, amused by their reactions. A few funds are still hesitating. I plan to expand Stamford Bridge, clear Chelsea's debts, and invest no less than £100 million a year in players. I don't want the club to still be in debt when I take it over. This is a birthday gift for my mother. An audible intake of breath rippled through the kitchen staff. Buying Chelsea as a birthday present, spending hundreds of millions, was beyond extravagant. William wasn't the sort to boast lightly. He wanted these people to spread the word that he would clear debts, expand the stadium, and invest heavily. Old Smith of Caesar's Palace had already sold most of the shares, and William's lawyer had prepared the transfer documents. It was just a matter of signatures. A few optimistic funds, however, still hoped for a better offer. William wanted the market, and his mother to be prepared. "I'll put the shares into the Devonshire Family Charitable Foundation we're setting up," he continued. "My mother will control the foundation. The beneficiaries will be Lena, me, and my children. As for a wife, well, I haven't decided yet. If I marry, there will be a prenuptial agreement, an annual allowance for my spouse, bonuses for children, alimony if necessary, no division of property." The chefs were speechless. If the media learned of this, mothers everywhere would be green with envy. William's announcement had another purpose, to mentally prepare Lena. Lena's birthday was on the 23rd of this month. He didn't want her to faint from shock. When she heard, she was delighted but measured. Chelsea wasn't officially his yet, so she hugged him, kissed his forehead several times, and laughed. With the mood light, William had the staff escort the chefs to the kitchen to prepare lunch. At noon, Gareth arrived as scheduled. William met him at the gates and embraced him as he stepped out of the car. After a few pleasantries, William said, "Welcome to the castle. Don't be too formal. Let me give you a quick tour. We'll eat in about half an hour." As they walked, William explained, "I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I asked the private client manager at the Swiss National Bank to book a 3-Michelin-star team. I didn't expect them to send an 11-person team. They said they could do any cuisine you want. The head chef is Gordon Ramsay. I don't know if he lives up to the title, though." Gareth stopped and fixed William with a long, exasperated look. "Are you showing off, or do you genuinely not know who Gordon Ramsay is?" William paused, reading the look. "I get it, he's famous, but honestly, does it matter? If he's charging $100,000 for a single meal, he'll rush from London to serve us without complaint. $100,000 for one meal?" Gareth's jaw dropped. "My monthly salary is only £10,000. William, you make people want to rob you. That's outrageous. No wonder Gordon Ramsay came himself. Thank you. This is extravagant. I'll be at a loss for how to repay you when you visit me." William laughed. "Don't worry about it. Money can solve that kind of problem. Today is grand because you're my first official guest at the castle. It won't be this formal every time. If it is, I won't be able to come back. Not even dukes are this extravagant. You could hire a 3-person, 3-Michelin-star team for a month with that kind of money. Let's not argue. After lunch, when we go hunting, we should have a proper talk." "Agreed," Gareth said with a smile. "This looks like it will be a good day." They both knew the meeting had purposes beyond pleasantries, but their aims didn't conflict. Both were comfortable with the risks. Gareth might even, privately, welcome something that would let him move on from his post in special services and promote someone more suitable from the nobility. A servant announced that lunch was ready. The meal was French, beautifully presented. William thought the food was decent, but Lena and Gareth praised it enthusiastically. Ramsay seemed genuinely pleased, repeatedly saying it was an honor. Lena suggested opening a branch of Ramsay's restaurant near Stamford Bridge with more affordable offerings for fans. William liked the idea, matched the quality, and the foot traffic would keep it busy. Gordon agreed on the spot to discuss the possibility. After lunch, William led Gareth to the reception room. Felix from the Swiss National Bank had been waiting for over an hour. He and his team had arrived shortly after William and Gareth sat down. When the servants reported that Sunday and Phillips were present, William hadn't invited them into the dining room. He'd had the chef send them a meal and left them to it. Now it was time to see what Felix had brought, and to show Gareth a few things. "Good afternoon, Mr. Devonshire," Felix stood and bowed. "How was lunch?" "Very good," William replied, glancing at the boxes on the table. "Thank you. What have you brought us?" Felix smiled. "It's an honor to serve you. The lunch was excellent. Gordon Ramsay lives up to his reputation. Sir, may I present the handmade hunting rifles I've brought?" William waved him off casually. "No need. I've found an expert." At that moment, a servant led in a middle-aged man. William stepped forward and shook the man's hand. "Good afternoon. I'm William Devonshire. Welcome to Devonshire Castle." The man, a little shy, grasped William's hand. "Thank you, Mr. Devonshire. I'm Spencer, the fifth-generation gunsmith from William Brothers Handmade Shotguns. It's an honor. I'm here to take your measurements and to present you with a gift. He nodded toward a rectangular box the servants had placed on the table. Actually, this belongs to your family. William opened the box. Inside lay an antique handmade hunting rifle about 60 years old. The stock was engraved with the Devonshire family deer crest and a capital D, Devonshire. Chapter 171. How much? William asked without turning around. He wasn't going to pass up the rifle. Spencer hesitated. Mr. Devonshire, there's something I should explain first. This gun was custom-made in our workshop for your great-grandfather. Old Mr. Devonshire paid a deposit of £210, but he died for his country before the rifle was finished. My grandfather spoke to Mr. Henry Devonshire about it. He said Henry only needed to pay the remaining £390 to collect the rifle, but Henry never replied. After my grandfather died, the rifle was forgotten in our warehouse. It only resurfaced 60 years later when you called. We found it while looking for gifts. If you pay the original balance of £390, it's yours. Spencer's words surprised everyone. No one expected such an odd story. At the same time, they admired the Spencer family's integrity. 60 years had passed, yet they had kept the item and waited for the owner rather than raising the price or quietly keeping it. William picked up the rifle and sighed. He understood why his great-grandfather Henry had never replied. 60 years ago, Henry had been penniless, barely able to keep his title, and certainly couldn't afford a custom hunting rifle. Now, 6 decades overdue, the transaction could finally be completed. Money wasn't a problem for William, but he couldn't bring himself to pay the paltry £390 from 60 years ago. He wouldn't lose face that way. In the gold standard era, £1 was worth 7.322 grams of gold. £390 was almost 2.856 kilograms of gold. At modern gold prices, that would be the equivalent of nearly £80,000, even before factoring inflation and the sentimental value. William shook his head and said to Gary's, "You're the expert. Help me estimate its value." Gary smiled. "No problem. May I handle it?" "Go ahead." William nodded. The rifle wasn't fragile. Gary's examined every part, assembled it, checked the rifling and the action. After a few minutes, he looked up under the expectant gazes. "This is an excellent gun. I can't believe how well preserved it is. Look at the rifling in the barrel. It looks like it was only test-fired and hasn't been used in 60 years. You're lucky. Guns in this condition are rare." William grinned inwardly. He'd liked the rifle the moment Gary's put it together. The steel components were engraved with delicate floral motifs and coats of arms. The action featured 3 stately stag heads. When Gary's handed it back, William noticed the stock bore the Devonshire family's cipher. He didn't react. He kept a faint smile and waited for Gary's. "If this rifle didn't have the Devonshire crest and initials," Gary's went on the open market, its price would be at least £400,000 to £600,000. With the crest and initials, though, the value is hard to predict. Gary's looked at William with a knowing smile. William laughed. "I know what you're getting at. The Devonshires are in decline, so to most buyers the crest means nothing. If this went to auction and I didn't bid, it'd fetch a normal price. But if I, the rich Devonshire, show up, people would pay through the nose for the crest, right?" The others suppressed laughter. Gary's grinned. "If I owned it and saw you at the auction, I'd find someone to shill and squeeze every last pound out of you. I'd drive it to $1 million or $2, or if I were bolder, maybe $5 million. To you, the crest matters more than the money." William whispered back, "You know me too well, Gary's. No wonder you're chairman of the Security Council. Have you been studying me?" Gary's snorted. "Anyone who deals with you, unless they're an idiot, studies you. Otherwise, they don't know why they were dragged into your business." "Hey," William protested, "I've never gone looking for trouble. Trouble comes to me and I have to deal with it. Do you expect me to just roll over?" Gary's cut him off. "Even if that's true, never forget one obvious fact. Wherever you go, there will be trouble, chaos, and death." William rolled his eyes but couldn't deny it. He changed the subject. "Mr. Spencer, I'll buy the rifle for £600,000, and everything I mentioned on the phone still stands. I want you to recreate your classic gun models and patterns for me." Spencer was taken aback. "Mr. Devonshire, Our workshop's classic designs. There are 7 or 8 main models, plus other top-tier pieces, dozens in total. If we recreate all the classics, we're talking hundreds. Your workshop only makes 12 hunting rifles a year, each about 100,000 pounds on average, correct? William interrupted. Yes, Mr. Devonshire, Spencer said, puzzled. Good. As long as your designs don't disappoint, for the next 10 years or longer, I want you to take my orders. My castle is huge. I have space to display what I like. Go back, organize those classic models, bring them for my review, and quietly tell the press I want priority purchase rights on all your hunting rifles for the next 10 years. You know what to do next, don't you? Spencer's face flushed with excitement. William was offering them the kind of publicity that could raise their reputation and the price of their guns, even if production couldn't be increased. Yes, Mr. Devonshire, we'll do as you say. Excellent. Thanks, Mr. Spencer. William saw him to the castle gate. After Spencer left, the professional gunsmith confirmed that the 3 rifles Phillips had sent were indeed John Van Zoy pieces made recently and in perfect working order. Good to know. Thank you. You're very welcome, Mr. Devonshire. I'll be in touch once the styles are ready. Spencer departed, energized. Back inside, William found Gary still fondling a couple of the Van Zoy rifles. If you like them, take one, William said. No one can trace anything about them. Gary's hesitated. No, my rifles at home are fine. They aren't Van Zoy famous, but they're by respected makers. I don't hunt much. A rifle worth hundreds of thousands is too extravagant. If people found out, it'd cause trouble, and they're a hassle to maintain. Who said you have to use them? William grinned. Collect them. These John Van Zoy pieces are priceless. If Phillips hadn't lifted them from his bank president's collection, I wouldn't have been able to buy them for any price. I'm going to hide them anyway. When guests come to the castle to hunt, I'll buy mechanical hunting rifles for them to use. So you're ordering dozens, maybe hundreds of hunting rifles just for decoration? Gary's asked. Of course, William said. Who lets guests use their own guns? If you hadn't been here before today, I wouldn't have lent you one, especially not that 250,000-pound piece. He pointed to the rifle in Gary's hands. William picked up another rifle with a dark red poplar stock, a carving of a brown bear chasing a stag, and a bandolier of cartridges. After a pause, Gary's offered, How about I trade you a revolver General Patton used? William laughed. Thanks, but no. Your revolver was probably only handled by Patton. He didn't carry many personal revolvers, and their whereabouts are well known. Then a 19th-century Damascus Wootz scimitar? Gary suggested, wincing. Now that's more like it. You can take the gun, but if I'm unhappy with the scimitar, I'll send someone to reclaim it. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. That sword belonged to a chieftain. It's a masterpiece. They changed into riding clothes, slung rifles over their shoulders, fastened ammunition belts, topped off tall boots and hats, and strolled toward the stables. Phillips, having seen William invite Gary's to hunt, had quietly taken his leave with his subordinates before William could see him off. Gary's watched him go and admitted, That man is daring. For a client, he tried to steal from his own bank president. If I were the president of the Swiss National Bank, you and Phillips would drive me mad. I've noticed you've been asking a lot of foolish questions since lunch, William said lightly. I don't know about the Swiss bank president, but at this rate you'll give yourself nerves. Relax, I've already promised I'll sort it out. Gary's even trembled a little. Are you sure? William feigned concern. Gary's, do you need a private jet to Switzerland to see a psychologist? Or should I bring a doctor to the castle? No, I'm not that bad yet. I'll be fine once you plug the leak. Don't worry. First, we'll pick a horse and talk in the forest. He led Gary's to see Red Hare. In just over 10 days, Red Hare would run in the Doncaster St. Leger qualifiers in South Yorkshire. After paying a sponsorship fee of £100,000, Red Hare had secured a spot. Old Neil had said 23 horses would run, more than ever before for the qualifier. The recent stock market crash had pushed many older racehorses back on the track. Owners hoped to win a Grade 1 race and sell for a profit to ease their financial strain. One horse had withdrawn after continuous Grade 1 runs since May left it injured and needing rest. William happily patted Red Hare's neck as Old Neil and Jockey Kenny approached. Chapter 172. Old Neil, Kenny. This is Gareth. Gareth, these are Old Neil, head horse trainer, and Kenny, red hair's jockey, William said with a smile as he made the introductions. The men exchanged greetings. Old Neil's face lit up with excitement. Boss, red hair's trial today was fantastic. Covered 2,937 meters in 3 minutes, 21 seconds, almost a St. Leger record. If nothing goes wrong, red hair should take the cup in just over 10 days. What? Gareth looked at William, surprised. You secretly bought a horse that could win a championship? Seriously? Are you God's illegitimate son? Get out of here, Gareth, William shot back. Would God's illegitimate son have black hair? I've no interest in that nonsense. Say that again, and we're done. William had reasons to avoid entanglements with anyone claiming divine lineage. Since the incident in Paris a few months ago, when someone from the St. Clair family was killed, Sophie hadn't contacted him. William didn't want more involvement with her. Their views clashed too sharply. To William, Sophie's usefulness ended at marriage and producing heirs. The St. Clairs were simply tools. Gareth blanched at William's tone. Sorry, I forgot the Devonshires don't do piety, he muttered. I won't joke like that again. Old Neil and Kenny glanced between the two, startled. Even in a largely secular age, nobody was usually so unconcerned about being seen as an unbeliever. Neil cleared his throat. All right, boss. Let's pick 2 horses for the hunt. We ought to get moving, otherwise we'll lose a good hour. Lead the way, William said. Old Neil led them to another stable, resigned and muttering under his breath about William's extravagance, using top-grade stallions suitable for breeding as mere riding mounts. In the end, he knew he couldn't stop his employer. If you'll ride, Old Neil warned, you'll have to take a few of the stallions. Unbroken males can be temperamental. I just don't know how good you and Mr. Gareth are. These horses could be a handful. William grinned at Gareth. No problem, so long as it isn't feral. I've been on horses since I was 6. Over the years, I've ridden at least 80, maybe 100. That'll do, Old Neil conceded. Those Arabians are a bit hot-blooded, but they're not wild. After 10 minutes of preparation, William led out a coal-black Arabian, and Gareth chose a dark chestnut. On the grass, with trainers watching, William's black horse stood obediently. Gareth's chestnut took a while to calm down before he could mount. With hunting rifles slung across their saddles, they trotted north toward the woodlands. Half an hour later, they reached the forest edge. Gareth checked his horse, then looked at William. Now? Tell me now. I can't hunt if I don't know. You're impatient, William teased. That hit a nerve. Gareth's composure snapped into a low growl. Cut the games. You rich kid don't know the pressure I've been under. Why do I slog away? For our class, for the aristocracy. Some days I want to walk away and retire to my estate. William raised an eyebrow. You're only in your early 40s, prime years. You really want to give up? And even if you could, would people let you? Don't forget what you do. Gareth went quiet, staring into the distance. Politics is a maze. One mistake and the anti-aristocracy crowd will tear me apart. Even some of our own want me out. If it weren't for the connections I built, I'd already be suspended, investigated. His voice hardened. My superior, someone higher up, lives comfortably while everyone else is at risk. People are willing to protect her by making me the scapegoat. If you know anything, tell me now. I've reached the point where I have to fight back. William narrowed his eyes. So you're saying only I can save you now? Gareth hesitated, then admitted, I hate to say it, but yes, a lot of people could help in theory, but everyone's watched. I don't trust them. You're the only one I don't have a conflict with. William laughed softly, then got serious. Gareth, remember your position. If I need you, I'll ask. If you refuse, provided it doesn't put your life or future directly at risk, you'll learn the price of betrayal. That's fair, Gareth replied, relieved. I wasn't expecting it to be free. I came prepared to pay whatever you set. I only hope you're straightforward. No hidden strings, no demands that drag me down. If I betray you without it involving my personal safety or future, you can kill me. I'll take my punishment. William understood he'd never demand Gareth's life or fortune outright. People weren't saints. Gratitude could sour to resentment if exploited. Clear terms were better for both of them. So what's the plan? Gareth asked. The plan is simple, William said. If you want trouble, wait for it to come. If you don't want trouble, I'll tell you who's behind the leak and the attack on the Secret Service headquarters. You can go arrest them yourselves." "You found the mastermind?" Gareth said, eyes lighting up. "Yes, identity confirmed," William nodded, "but I haven't located them yet." A slow smile spread across Gareth's face. "And our attitudes toward her match? From what I know, you and she are at odds. She's always after your family's secrets." William surprised him by shaking his head. "I don't know if we match. I don't like her. She causes trouble for me, but she hasn't crossed certain lines. I'm not the sort to kill just because I'm annoyed. Eliminating her or forcing her into retirement both serve my purposes. Which option I choose depends on which benefits me more. When it does, I'll weigh it. If a choice doesn't help me, I leave it to you because you can deliver benefits." Gareth dismounted and tied his horse to a tree. William did the same. "You've always struck me as decisive and ruthless," Gareth said as he racked 2 shells into his shotgun. "I'm surprised you have any pity left." William snorted inwardly. He hadn't always been this man. 8 months ago, he'd been an ordinary university student. If not for being pulled into the current life by people and events he'd fumbled through, he might have been nothing more than an idle playboy, tinkering, making money in simpler ways. But 8 months of maneuvering had built him a vast and very real power base. He had cash scattered in Swiss and English banks, over $4 billion, and major holdings, stakes in Stark, Apple, Amazon, Disney, the assets of Chelsea and Aston Martin, and a significant share of England electricity. Those holdings, combined with other assets and the Templar cash, 160 tons of gold bricks, 14 chests of jewelry, plus coins and artifacts yet to be transported, put his liquid and hard currency value well into the tens of billions. He'd amassed all of it in those 8 months through deals and foresight. Had he followed the simple path of invention and industry, $1 billion might have been a success. Instead, he'd used knowledge and timing to multiply everything. He hadn't immediately moved to capture Silva, the figure he suspected, because he planned to wait until Silva came to England and made a public move. That would let William fish in troubled waters and benefit materially or politically. "Enough talk," William said, hefting his rifle and flicking off the safety with a click. "Hunting time. After we're done, tell me what you want. Also, how about a little contest? Loser buys drinks for our friends all day at the Big Goblet." "No chance," Gareth said flatly. "Do I look stupid? I'm not competing with you in marksmanship." "Come on, Gareth. Are we just going to shoot randomly on our own?" "No, I still won't shoot against you. I know I'll lose. Only a fool would agree. Unless—" Gareth dragged out the word and looked at William deliberately. "Unless what?" William prompted. "Unless you double my kill. If I bag 1 kilogram of game, you'll have to get more than 2 to win," Gareth said with a chuckle. William laughed and agreed immediately. "No problem. Gareth, you're being ridiculous. Today, I'll show you that against pure strength, all your tricks are useless. After this, I'll round up everyone I know, and we'll all go to the Grand Goblet pub and give you a proper roasting." Gareth looked at William's confident grin and felt a flicker of doubt. He hurried to amend himself. "No, anyone who comes has to be someone we both know." Fine. Let's start. I'll let you take the first shot so you don't miss your chance." Chapter 256. Even the most reliable allies can have ulterior motives. Let's talk strategy first. I didn't bring the hounds today, and in a forest this big prey isn't exactly easy to find, Gareth said. "It's fine. Look over there." William pointed about 20 meters to his front left. "See, there's a rabbit under that oak. You can have the first kill." The more William played it cool, the more certain Gareth was that he'd been tricked. But the bet was on, so Gareth looked where William pointed. After staring for 10 seconds, he finally spotted the rabbit tucked in a pile of leaves beneath the oak. Astonished, he asked, "How did you see that? You found it even though it's well hidden. Are you wearing some kind of high-tech invisible contact lens? Have you lost your mind? If I'd got gear like that, I'd be rich already. Are you going to shoot or just stand there? That rabbit's about to bolt." William swore and strode past Gareth, raised his hunting rifle and fired. With a single bang, the rabbit leapt and was struck by the buckshot, flying a few meters before landing in the grass. They approached and found the rabbit decapitated. Gareth stared. "Jesus, how do you shoot like that? Hitting a jumping rabbit in the head with one shot, that's impossible. William shrugged. It's not that hard. Just raise the gun, pick the target, and pull the trigger. Bull, Gareth snapped. Of course I know how to aim, but the problem is actually hitting it. William winced. I don't know how to explain it. For me, shooting is just aiming and firing. I pretty much never miss. You what? Gareth choked on the words and coughed, stunned. You said you've never missed a shot? That's what I said. William nodded. It was true in practice. He'd never missed since the system gave him that edge, but he couldn't explain the real reason, so he let the lie stand. Gareth's eyes glittered. Now I know why you like to kill so much. Aside from cutting off future trouble, shooting must be fun for you. Don't you get a thrill, a sense of accomplishment every time you take someone out with a shot? William thought for a beat and shook his head. No, but I do feel no burden when I kill someone who deserves it. Gareth remembered what he'd found in William's safe. William didn't seem to have ever taken innocent lives. He'd always insisted on proper authorization for operations, and he seemed to follow his own moral code. Gareth laughed softly. If some clueless opponent tried to deal with you, anything less than a special forces squad would be suicide. William turned to him. Gareth's casual line set off an uneasy thought. Was he just speculating, or had he actually considered how to get rid of William? If it had come from an ordinary hunter, William might have dismissed it, but Gareth was head of special services. He had to take it seriously. William decided to test him. The sudden silence put Gareth on edge. When William fixed him with a steady, inscrutable look, Gareth nearly blurted out an explanation. Sorry, William, that was just a professional habit. People like me always judge feasibility and success rates. I swear on my name and family, William, I would never act against you. We don't have any conflicts. It's a misunderstanding. As Gareth spoke, William's mental scans picked up his heartbeat. Before William's stare, Gareth's pulse had been steady. No wild excitement or malice, while he joked about what force it would take to kill William. When he began to explain, his heart rate spiked, normal nervousness at being caught off guard. If it had remained calm or only slightly elevated while he explained, William would have laughed it off. But the spike confirmed that the thought had been there, however subconscious. William accepted the apology, but didn't trust that others never entertained the notion of removing him. He wouldn't give them the opportunity. He stepped close, clapped Gareth on the shoulder. Gareth flinched as William's hand landed and felt the memory of William's past methods. Burying a problem in the woods was a conceivable outcome. Okay, buddy, let's go on, Gareth said, forcing a grin. One rabbit isn't going to fill anyone's belly. He picked up the rabbit and led the way. Gareth walked with irritation gnawing at him, but he followed. William, walking ahead and continuously scanning Gareth's mind, breathed a little easier. He was about 80% sure Gareth hadn't meant anything malicious, yet that past thought still made him uneasy. He pulled out his Bluetooth earpiece and whispered, "From now on, keep a 24/7 watch on Gareth. Report anything he does that's against my interests. Don't take action without orders." "Understood, sir. Mission accepted," Sunday replied in the earpiece. William pocketed the device. The world was dangerous. Vigilance was necessary. But he'd limited Sunday's authority. No autonomous kills. He didn't need Sunday interpreting a casual screw you from Gareth as a death threat and acting on it. "It's after 3 already," William told Gareth. "We've only got a couple hours before the forest gets dark. Don't back out." "Haha, don't worry. I'm not the coward here," Gareth replied. "I'm more worried you'll lose and your friends will roast you, and then you won't show at the Grand Goblet. If the host doesn't show up, the party's ruined." They laughed and pretended everything was normal. Gareth tried to smooth over the earlier awkwardness and didn't fully focus on hunting. William wasn't interested in small game anyway. 10 minutes later, his mental perception prickled. He grabbed Gareth's arm. "Careful, big animals up ahead." Chapter 257, One Shot, One Wild Boar. Big animals? Gareth's ears perked, but he heard nothing. "I don't hear anything. What big game could there be near Oxford?" "Just because you can't hear them doesn't mean they aren't there. I'm guessing wild boars, heavy footfalls. Stay quiet. Let's sneak up." Gareth, a competent hunter despite a few quiet years, checked his magazine and nodded. He knew the danger of a boar sounder. William signaled him to stop with a raised fist, then pointed to a large tree and motioned for Gareth to climb a low branch. Gareth made an okay sign and moved toward the tree, but instead of climbing, he slipped behind it, waiting. William reloaded a couple of shells into his belt and circled around behind the boars so that when he shot, the animals would be driven toward Gareth. He closed the distance until he was about 30 meters from the sounder, then another 10 meters closer. If he'd had a rifle with range, he could have taken them cleanly from farther out. Both of them had only 12-gauge shotguns. Those shells were most effective within 20 meters. Beyond that, their potency dropped fast. At 60 meters, they were practically harmless to a boar unless you hit a tiny vital like the eyes. When he was about 17 or 18 meters away, William crouched behind a tree and watched. He picked targets and firing order in his head. Then he raised the shotgun, aimed for the largest boar, and squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked through the forest. The biggest boar fell immediately, as if paralyzed. He swung on the second largest as it turned to flee and fired again. The boar plunged headfirst into mud and rolled. Quickly ejecting the spent shells, William flicked 2 buckshot rounds into the chamber and fired twice at 2 boars running roughly 20 meters away, hitting them in the hind legs. After those shots, he ignored the others. The trees blocked his view, and the remaining boars were already 40 or 50 meters off. It was too late to reload and get a clear shot. He had made his hits where he could, the rest scattered into the forest. William lowered his gun. 4 boars were down, 1 dead, 2 seriously wounded, 1 stunned, and several others had escaped into the undergrowth. There was no clear angle to continue, and it was too late to pursue immediately. He stayed alert, ready to move, and kept an eye on Gareth's position. Gareth was waiting in the direction the boar had fled. A few seconds later, 2 gunshots echoed not far away. Gareth had made a kill. William ejected the spent casings, reloaded 2 rounds, and finished off the 2 boars that had been hit in the hind legs with a clean shot to the head. A quick mental scan confirmed all 4 were dead. William walked toward Gareth, calling out a few times so he knew he was coming. Listening for his voice, Gareth called back, "Understood." Focusing his mental sense, William realized Gareth had his back turned, examining the wound on a boar, and quickened his pace. Hearing footsteps, Gareth turned and his face lit up. "God," he said, circling the carcass. "This is the biggest wild boar I've ever seen, at least 450 pounds. William did the math in his head. 450 pounds is roughly 200 kilograms, and frowned. Only 200 kilos? It looked bigger. I thought it would be at least 300. Gareth laughed. "Finally, something you don't know. After being around you, I figured you knew everything. It's a relief to find out you're human too, just a little smarter than the rest of us." William rolled his eyes. "What are you going to do with it? Mount it for the trophy room, or take it back to the castle for meat?" "Mount it, of course. It'll go in the trophy room at Marlow Manor. In England, 450 pounds is enormous. The biggest boar taken in recent decades was about 600 pounds, maybe 270 kilos. You only? I've seen people online claiming wild boars of 400 to 500 kilos. Idiot, Gareth scoffed. Aside from polar bears, where do you get 400-kilo boars? I've heard of specimens over 300 kilos in other countries, but those online posts are lies. How many did you get? With this one, I think I've won our bet. William smiled. You're celebrating too soon. The smallest of the 4 I brought down is bigger than yours. How is that possible? Giant boars all over Oxford? Gareth sounded dubious but eager. Take me to see them. If one's over 600 pounds, you'll break the record. They walked a few dozen meters. Gareth's anticipation grew as he saw 2 boars, heads blown open, that were already larger than his. When he reached the first boar William had felled, his jaw dropped. God, this one's over 600 pounds, maybe 650. If the press gets this, you'll be famous again. But how do we get 5 boars out of here? Cars couldn't reach this part of the woods, but that didn't bother William. He called Phillips at the National Bank and arranged a helicopter lift. Gareth watched, rolling his eyes at the extravagance. Hiring a helicopter for tens of thousands of pounds just to haul a few boars seemed ridiculous to him, but he didn't protest. While they waited, Gareth talked hunting. Fox hunts in the autumn, nobles in red coats on tall horses with hounds, the tradition that had long marked aristocratic life. He spoke about the money and livelihoods fox hunting supported, how it generated millions per county and sustained thousands of professional hunters and rural families, and how strongly some nobles felt about preserving that identity. William listened more than he spoke. He understood Gareth's nostalgia, but he also knew how fragile aristocratic privilege had become. If a noble openly pushed to reclaim rights that separated them from commoners, they'd be pushed aside or worse. William didn't fit in with that world anyway. His blood through his mother tied him to the celestial dynasty, not to English nobility. He had no desire for the ancient rituals and the cozy exclusivity of the aristocracy. He dealt in interests, not honor. Gareth went quiet, and after a long pause, asked, "Can you guarantee she'll be taken care of?" William had nearly dozed off while waiting. He stretched, yawned, and said, "That's my business. If I say I'll handle it, I will. It's better if you don't know the details. Fewer people who know means fewer problems, and fewer people I have to worry about silencing. What you should be thinking about is whether you want to take over or who you want to find to take over." "You don't trust anyone," Gareth said wryly. "Would you trust them? You all fight among yourselves, and when things go wrong, you still come to an outsider like me for help." The forest fell silent. Gareth looked torn, then finally sighed. "If anyone finds out, we'll both be in Blackrock prison." "Don't worry," William replied evenly. "If anyone goes down, it'll be you. The benefits I asked for will be claimed openly once this is settled. No one will connect her death to me without motive. There's nowhere that can hold me if it comes to that." Gareth studied William's calm, almost casual certainty, as if wondering how someone could be so untroubled about taking down an entrenched power. The hesitation eased out of him. "I hope I never see the madam in hell," he said quietly. William laughed. "Good. Traitors go to hell. I'd rather not meet her there either. But if I had to choose, I'd pick hell. At least I can do as I please there." "Exactly. If we can't go to heaven, we'll go to hell and be the boss," Gareth agreed with a crooked smile. "All right, business is settled. Get ready. We should go." They hadn't been waiting long when a distant thump grew louder. Gareth, watching William's back, noticed details. William's sight, hearing, strength, all seemed a cut above normal. He wondered what Henry had done to train him, but kept the question to himself. A CH-34 transport helicopter circled in and hovered. William lit the wet kindling he had prepared, and two crew in bright yellow life vests and helmets rappelled down. William gave quick instructions. They handed him a walkie-talkie and motioned for him to leave first. As they left the woods, William shot a few pheasants he'd seen on the path for dinner, a small indulgence. Back at the stables, he handed his horse to old Neil and used the radio to direct the pilot to drop the boars outside the stables. The first load touched down, then the helicopter returned to the clearing. After 5 round trips, all 5 boars were at the castle. William told his staff to keep the largest boar and Gareth's for taxidermy. The other 3 would be trucked into town for butchering. He took 5 kilos of choice pork for himself and left the rest to be divided among the stable hands. By the time the taxidermist had collected the 2 specimens and the men had seen the helicopter off, it was past 6 in the evening. William sent a servant to show Gareth to a guest room to wash and change. After he had cleaned up himself, he went to the first-floor lounge where his mother waited. He hugged her as he came in. "How was your afternoon?" she asked. "Heh, not bad. Next time I'll take you if you'll come." "No thanks," his mother said promptly. "I can't stand bloody scenes. Your grandfather once took me grouse hunting when I was a child. Seeing one shot to pieces made me sick, and coming home covered in mud, it was horrible." "All right, no more hunting talk," William said, changing the subject. "How did your meeting with Gordon Ramsay go?" "Not bad," Lena answered. "We have a verbal agreement. After Chelsea changes hands, I'll open a 2-story restaurant near the subway. We'll focus on Italian and Spanish dishes, generous portions, and much more affordable than French cuisine." Chapter 175. I plan to use mid to low prices to attract and reward Chelsea fans and residents near the stadium, a kind of goodwill gesture to boost support for our family's takeover of Chelsea. What do you think? It's all right. These are small things, Lena said. A 3 Michelin-star restaurant doesn't make much money in a year. As long as we don't lose money, we can keep it open. Have you ever thought about expanding the stadium and renovating Chelsea Village? Chapter 259, Spending Money Now is Making Money. Renovating the stadium and Chelsea Village. William paused, then leaned forward. You don't understand, Mom. We have to think long-term. The football market will only get hotter. If the team performs well, the current 42,055 seats won't be enough in a few years. It's better to build now than later. With the economy down, expansion costs are tens of percent, maybe even half, cheaper than they'll be in a few years. Spending money now is actually making money, and if we invest heavily right after taking over, it will boost fans' confidence in us. To win support and success, we have to spend. Build the best stadium. For players, it depends. If we can buy big-name stars, great. If not, we should invest in the team's facilities, a modern training base. Big investments show our ambition, attract good players, and keep fans loyal. Money won't guarantee a championship, but it increases our chances. I don't want fans cursing us like they did that old man Benitez. If we win the title, you can represent our Devonshire family and accept the trophy. Imagine it, Mom. You'd be the most glamorous club chair in the world. God, Lena breathed, face alight with excitement at the thought. After a moment, she shook her head, cautious again. With such a huge investment, how many years would it take to recoup it? If the team never improves, won't we lose a lot of money? William's face twitched. He admired his mother's thriftiness. She had always managed the household down to the smallest detail, and the transition from fan to owner felt almost too rapid. Don't worry, Mom. I promise this won't lose money. You forgot making money is my forte. I've accumulated tens of billions in assets in 7 or 8 months. My judgment won't be wrong. Lena's worry eased, and pride spread across her face. She patted William's head. You've done so much for us, my child. I never dreamed we'd buy Chelsea. God was kind to me. Though he took away my beloved, he gave me you. You're my greatest pride. Mom, if anyone should be grateful, it's me. Without you, there'd be no me. Now I can support the family. You can relax and do whatever you want. I'll handle everything. You worked hard the first half of your life. The second half, you should enjoy your son's filial piety. Lena laughed. Exactly. You have a conscience. She brightened. All right. Mom isn't as good at making money as you. I won't meddle. William, what if Mom treats all the Chelsea fans at the first match to beer and fried chicken after we take over? William grinned. No problem, Mom, as long as you're happy. Money is meant to be spent. I've already decided. You and my future wife will be responsible for spending money. If the children are girls, they get the same treatment as you. If they're boys, they'll have to do chores to earn pocket money. Ha ha, you're cruel, Lena teased, delighted. With a father like you, my future grandchildren will be miserable. Just thinking about it makes me laugh. You'll have to wait years for grandchildren, William said with mock difficulty. I'm not ready to be a dad yet. That's fine. Mom isn't ready to be a grandmother either, Lena said, patting his shoulder. My child, you grew up before I was ready. Cough, cough, they turned as Gareth appeared at the foot of the stairs. Sorry, am I interrupting? William and his mother rose and smiled. Not at all. I was just chatting with my mother about ordinary things. Do the clothes fit? Gareth bowed politely to Lena. They fit perfectly. Thank you. Dressed in a casual suit from the ready-to-wear store, Gareth looked much younger. William teased. Congratulations, Gareth. You look a lot younger in this outfit. Your old style made you look too serious, too gloomy. Gareth bristled at the implied critique of his fashion sense. You think your fashion is superior? You might be a noble now, but your taste is as casual as the nouveau rich. And I'm not old. I just feel lighter now that a burden is lifted. Lena watched the two men bicker and smiled. You two can chat. I need to see if dinner is ready. Of course, madam, Gareth replied quickly. After Lena left, Gareth sank onto the sofa. Your mother is remarkable. I heard she stayed single for you and worked multiple jobs to support your education for over 10 years. Now it's good. You and your mother can finally live for yourselves. William fixed Gareth with a stare. What do you mean by that? You'd better just be complimenting her, not implying anything else. Gareth blinked. then laughed sheepishly. William, you're too suspicious. I was only complimenting her. All right, I'll believe you for now, but after dinner, you head straight back to London. If you ever come to the castle when I'm not here, I'll throw you in the Thames, William said, narrowing his eyes. Gareth rolled his eyes. Don't worry, I don't have the nerve to be your stepfather. I haven't lived enough yet. William felt a flare of irritation at Gareth's smile. Don't you hee me. Try that again, and I'll toss you in the river to sober you up. Gareth quickly subdued his grin, but couldn't resist one parting barb. Just you wait, William. You're going to have a lot of trouble ahead. I'll be nearby to watch you make a spectacle of yourself. Go to hell, William snapped, but inwardly he knew Gareth was right. He imagined the people who would try to exploit his family, and the thought made him uneasy. His mother's safety had to be dealt with. It would be best to find protection from people with no ties to Europe and America, female special forces, if possible. Immediately, he thought of bodyguards from the Great Heavenly Dynasty who specialized in protecting important figures. Chapter 260, Happiness Built on Others' Suffering, is the best. Previously, Lena had vaguely told William she would not remarry or find a boyfriend, partly to protect her own reputation after William stood to inherit the earldom. William agreed inwardly, but he couldn't control everything. In the West, marriages, divorces, and remarriages were common. Lena remaining unmarried for her child was unusual, and if she chose otherwise later, he would have no grounds to stop her. He found himself wishing, more than ever, that his dead father, whom he had never seen, were alive. Sorry, Gareth, you sit. I need to make a call, William said, standing up. Go ahead, Gareth replied, unaware how much his earlier comment had affected William. If he'd known, he would have slapped himself. Outside the castle, William popped in his Bluetooth earpiece. Sunday, look for female bodyguards from the Great Heavenly Dynasty who specialize in protecting VIPs. Use only legitimate channels. Also, check if the Heavenly Dynasty Chamber of Commerce in England has any upcoming events or banquets. Understood, sir, came the reply 10 seconds later. On the 13th of this month, it's the Mid-Autumn Festival in the Heavenly Dynasty. The Heavenly Dynasty people in London will have a dinner that night. I'll report back about the bodyguards after I learn more. William thought a moment. Apply to the Chamber of Commerce, saying I'm a half-Heavenly Dynasty person hoping to experience the festival atmosphere. Tell them I appreciate Heavenly Dynasty jade and Sioux embroidery and would like to find masters skilled in those arts through the chamber. Prepare 2 gifts with Heavenly Dynasty characteristics as birthday presents for my mother. Application submitted, sir. Though William lived in the West, he felt a cultural affinity to the Heavenly Dynasty and preferred to recruit bodyguards from there. With his current status and willingness to pay, he was confident he could hire excellent protection through civilian connections. People who had built businesses in England often had hometown ties and could recommend skilled people. He'd follow normal hiring procedures and pay well. If the best candidates weren't available, he'd simply raise the price. Sir, Lady Lena says dinner is ready. You can take your guest to the dining room now. I'll be right there, William replied, then went in to escort Gareth. Dinner featured charcoal-grilled wild boar chops and pan-fried cheese with pure chicken sandwiches made from pheasant breast. William wasn't very keen on the wild boar, but loved the chicken sandwich. He went back for seconds. Afterward, head chef Gordon Ramsay came in to ask for feedback. Everyone praised the chicken sandwich. Gareth alone particularly enjoyed the wild boar. William and Lena found it a bit greasy, and Gordon took note. Understanding diners' tastes was crucial. He apologized and promised to adjust future menus to their preferences, hoping to invite them to his restaurant again. William agreed politely and, satisfied overall, wrote a check to Gordon for $110,000, an extra $10,000 as a tip. Gordon was ecstatic and thanked them repeatedly before returning to London with his team. After seeing Gareth off, William walked alone around the castle grounds. He strolled along the small river that ran by the estate, then suddenly stopped and glanced toward a small grove of trees. Don't hide, Craig. Craig stepped out from behind a tree, looking surprised. How did you know I was here? Chapter 176. Ha ha. William, who had his own secret edge, always instinctively used his mental perception in unfamiliar places. My hearing's excellent. It would be strange if I couldn't hear your heavy breathing. Besides, you parked like an idiot. You wanted me to find you. William stared at the disheveled Craig for a few moments. Craig, who had been vibrant and confident only months ago, now had a stubbled face, ragged breathing, and a hoarse voice. William shook his head. If you were in such bad shape, you should have come back sooner. Numbing the pain with drink isn't a solution. Craig answered in that hoarse voice. Do you think I wanted to? If you send me on a mission, you should trust me. But look at me. If your own people had shot you, maybe you'd understand. All right, enough complaining. William's tone softened. I know you've got your principles. That's why you came back as soon as I said I could fix you. I've already lined up a doctor and the equipment. Are you sure you want to come back for treatment? Saying he could cure him was William giving Craig a way out. Craig hadn't returned simply because the betrayal ate at him. His injuries weren't impossible to treat. William had guessed right. Craig didn't explode in anger. He only sighed. All right, I came ready. Just don't let your doctor turn me into a cripple, or I'll have to quit for good. Unlike William's selfish streak, Craig was a patriot through and through. He'd come back without fuss. Don't worry, you're too useful for me to cripple, William said. You must have heard of cell regeneration tech. I spent £500,000 on a black market emergency regeneration kit. It's still in the lab. It speeds recovery by 10 times. I guarantee you'll be back on your feet in no time. He hadn't bought any kit. He was covering for his healing ability. For secrecy, the procedure will be done while you're unconscious. That okay? Craig chuckled. As long as I get better, do whatever you want. Get out of here. Don't make me wait around. Stay away from me after this. William shivered theatrically. Come on, let's go to the castle first. When you're better, you can leave. As they walked, Craig, perhaps to irritate William, muttered, You're so rich. You could try some of those interesting entertainments. Lots of rich people in England enjoy unusual things. Damn it! William suddenly grabbed Craig by the collar and with a quick motion shoved him into the shallow river beside them. When Craig's head broke the surface, William bellowed, Sober yet? Then get out! Craig laughed loudly as William stalked off. The months of gloom that had weighed on him seemed to lift. There's a small, ugly truth to it. Seeing someone worse off can make you feel better. William changed his mind on the way back and took Craig to the stable infirmary instead of the castle. He pulled the on-duty vet aside and quietly asked for a bottle of anesthetic spray. The vet didn't pry. William had given him the day off and left with a wagging finger and a warning not to overuse the spray. Inside the infirmary, William tossed the bottle to Craig. Take off your shirt. Craig stared at the canister, then swore. You're kidding. This is horse stuff. You're not an idiot. Don't inhale too much. You could have told me you were coming. Hurry up. The doctor will be here soon. We're improvising for now. Think of it like sleep. You'll be fine by morning. William grinned. Craig hesitated then, either to spite William or because he trusted him, opened the spray, held it to his mouth, and took several deep breaths. The hissing filled the small room. If I end up a cripple, I'll be living off you, he mumbled, slumping onto the bed and drifting out. William watched the anesthetized man fall limp, a faint smirk on his face. He grabbed a white lab coat and draped it over the infirmary camera to block the lens. He scanned the room with his mental sight. When he found nothing problematic, he reached out and lifted Craig with an invisible force, laying him flat on the bed. A quick physical scan showed 2 unhealed wounds. One was large, likely a rifle shot with the bullet lodged behind the shoulder blade. Fortunately, no bone damage. The other was smaller, nearly healed, but full of fragments. The small wound was the worst for long-term pain. Metal shards embedded in muscle would constantly tear new tissue, making every movement agonizing unless removed. William sent a flying knife to cut Craig's shirt at the shoulder, and then used his mental power to extract the bullet and fragments. He chanted a healing spell over the wounds. The smaller one closed almost instantly. The larger one took longer, so he cast another spell and watched it knit together visibly. When the job was done, he gathered the extracted fragments with his mind, rinsed them at the sink, bagged them, and tucked a blanket over Craig. He took Craig's phone and dialed his own number, then pulled down the coat from the camera and told his assistant, "Sunday, remind me when Craig wakes." "Understood, sir." He left the stables and went back to the castle basement. Lately, the lower level, aside from a sealed server room, had been turned into a lab. William scanned the fragments with an analyzer and said, "Sunday, analyze these. Then log into my special operations account and see who's used this kind of ammunition." "Analysis complete," Sunday replied. "The fragments are depleted uranium. 7 people in the database have records of using this type of round." William glanced at the faces Sunday projected on the wall. One stood out immediately. The first one in the second row. Sunday hid the other images, leaving only the killer's photo. "This person is listed as Patrice in the Special Operations database. He's a ghost, no country of birth. To get more, I'll need your authorization to access global classified repositories." "No," William said without hesitation. Random deep searches could lead anywhere. "Monitor the Golden Dragon Hotel in the Asian capital. Intercept everything the hotel manager, Severine, says. Watch airports, train stations, and hotels, especially in Singapore. Patrice might be heading there." Even if trailing a controlled asset produced little, it was worth trying. For Sunday, the task was simple. Transfer Patrice's profile to Brian Mills and ask him to use his contacts. "Data transfer complete, sir." About 20 minutes later, William's phone rang. "Brian." "Good evening, Brian. Found something already?" "Haha, it's evening here, too." "Good evening, boss." Brian's tone was unusually light. "You been doing well lately? Anything to share?" "No news worth shouting about," William deflected. "Anything on Patrice?" "Some, but first, good news. Kim and her mother agreed to travel next month. Only problem, they can't agree where to go. Got any suggestions?" William's interest pricked. He knew the danger zones. "Where does Kim want to go?" "Kim wants Istanbul. Her mother prefers Budapest. I'm stuck." William's jaw tightened. Both cities had strong Albanian presence. Too risky. "I wouldn't pick Istanbul or Budapest. Lots of Albanians there. If you're still worried about Kim, don't put her in a scene where you have to rescue her. Don't create the need. Brazil or the People's Republic would be safer. I hear public security is tight there. Try persuading them to change plans." "Understood. I'll push for that. Thanks, boss." Brian's tone turned serious. "About the man you asked about, he's linked to an embassy bombing in a small South American country. The U.S. Secret Service has a general location on him. I'll let you know when I have specifics." "Okay, travel safe." "Thanks. Bye, boss. Bye." William set the phone down and turned his attention back to the bagged fragments. The trail to Patrice had begun. Chapter 262, Always Have a Backup Plan. Early the next morning, William, still asleep, was woken by Sunday. "Sir, Mr. Daniel Craig is awake. Would you like to see him?" Half asleep in bed, William mumbled, "Have someone lay out clothes and take him to wash up. I'll have breakfast with him in an hour. Wake me in 20 minutes. "Understood, sir." An hour later, William stood in the dining room and greeted Craig, who had dressed in formal wear. "Good morning. How did you sleep last night?" "Very well. The best sleep I've had in months. Thank you, William. I owe you," Craig said, excited. "By the way, where can I buy that first aid kit you mentioned? I feel like my body is back to even better than where it was a few months ago." "I'm afraid that product is still in the lab," William said apologetically. "I happened to get some shares that gave me access to a semi-finished unit. You've used it, so you know how valuable it could be. If you don't want trouble, keep it to yourself." "Understood," Craig nodded. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Heh! With something like that, it's not just killing someone. You could topple a small country." "Good," William said, pleased by Craig's discretion. "Have a seat. Breakfast is ready." They ate in silence. Afterwards, William asked, "Interested in some grouse shooting? We can see if your marksmanship's rusty." "No problem. Am I under your command now?" Craig asked without surprise. "You should know what happened earlier," William replied. "The chairman of the security committee, Gareth Mallory, approached me. I'm serving as a special envoy to investigate the leak. I usually avoid that sort of thing, but the committee dangled a benefit I couldn't refuse. I have a lot on my plate, so I thought of you." William looked Craig in the eye. "You wouldn't mind me pushing this task onto you?" Craig shrugged easily. "Of course not. For both public and private reasons, I'll take it." "Good. You'll run the operation. I'll handle logistics and intelligence. I received word that the man you arrested a few months ago will be heading to Lion City. I've left a tactical squad with personnel and equipment in Malaysia to support you." He led Craig into the gun room and took out a black case, handing it over. Craig opened it, and William explained, "I modified a standard phone. It looks normal, but has GPS and a transmission system built in. As long as it's on, we can track you globally. The belt buckle is a backup GPS and receiver in case the phone is confiscated. The earpiece sits in your ear and picks up the vibrations of your eardrum when you speak. It transmits the sound, connecting to both the phone and the belt buckle. Alone, the earpiece's range is about 5 kilometers, and most importantly, these glasses." He took out wide-framed black sunglasses. "These are the most advanced glasses available right now. When linked to the phone, they can send data back to our host via satellite, tag and analyze objects you see, take photos, do facial recognition, overlay information, and provide voice navigation and positioning." Craig stared, impressed. William smiled. "Not something you've seen before?" Craig nodded. "Impressive." "There are a few caveats," William continued. "Out of the box, the phone and glasses are set to self-destruct after 3 days unless I authorize an extension. Fully charged, they can run up to 5 days, but without my authorization, they will go. So be careful. If you're stuck somewhere without signal, don't keep them on when the timer runs out, or they'll burn you pretty badly." "Christ," Craig said, startled. "Who in their right mind would use gear like that? What if it malfunctioned? That'd be suicide." "Don't worry, they won't just explode instantly," William said. "The batteries will overheat during the self-destruct sequence, so you'd have time to toss them. Under normal conditions, they're safe. They only go off when they receive a special command. The phone also has a last resort feature. If you enter a particular command, the battery will short-circuit and release its energy in seconds, like a hand grenade." "A transformer short-circuit?" Craig guessed. "Exactly. The devices will hold a charge for up to 5 days. This box is the charger. You can plug it in or use solar. Put the devices back in the case, open the lid panel, pull out the wires, unfold the solar panel and set it in the sun. They charge in about 4 hours. Of course, don't expose them to direct rain or harsh conditions." William explained further. The earpiece and belt buckle were commercially bought. The phone and glasses combined technologies from various labs that William had Sunday pull together. The glasses were effectively just cameras and receivers. All the processing happened on an external server handled by Sunday. Without Sunday's backend, the glasses are little more than a camera. They were several grades below the goggles in William's own Devenhill Mark I battlesuit. Leaking the glasses' hardware wouldn't bother him. The real value was in the system and the battery. The batteries were lithium-sulfur units William had assembled himself using equipment he purchased for £10 million. They were technologically advanced, roughly 15 years ahead of current commercially available cells, so he was particularly protective of them. He omitted one detail about these particular cells. They had added components that would cause them to self-destruct if tampered with, by disassembly, charging under the wrong conditions, or if the power reached 99%. Craig fitted everything on. "Really won't go wrong? It's like C4 when it's inert," William said. "You can hit it with a hammer or shoot it and nothing happens. Unless I send the command, they stay inert. This is to stop the technology from being stolen. If I hadn't taken precautions, these things might not be mine in a few days." Craig smiled awkwardly under William's gaze. Despite an outwardly steady face, his eyes were shifty, the look of a man who had indeed thought about selling out. William had expected that and was prepared. He wasn't angry. He pointed to a 60-year-old shotgun on the rack. "Besides that, pick anything else you like." Dressed for hunting, the two men each took a shotgun and pockets full of shells and walked out of the castle. William phoned the stables and had 2 employees follow to collect any game. Chapter 263, Setting Traps to Catch Mice. They crossed the lawn, and William broke into a jog, smiling at Craig. Craig understood this was a test of stamina, and his competitive instinct flared. He matched William's pace. After 10 minutes, however, Craig's breathing grew heavy. He hadn't expected his endurance to be so poor. When William quickened the pace, after another 5 minutes, Craig was struggling. William eased off and slowed to a walk. The run had been deliberate, a wake-up to Craig's current physical condition so he wouldn't overestimate himself on a mission. After a few minutes of walking, William looked at Craig, bent over with his hands on his knees, and chuckled. "You need to quit drinking, mate. Keep going like you have been, and you'll ruin yourself." Craig nodded, panting. "I will. Before, I was just self-destructing and using alcohol to numb the pain. Now I have a goal. Quitting will be easy." William believed him. He'd read Craig's file and knew his willpower was strong when focused. "All right, since you know where you are, let's talk about the mission." "Yes, sir." Craig straightened and looked at William with professional attention. "Put the glasses on. It'll be simpler." Craig put on the glasses. An image popped up, and before he could ask, a mechanical voice in his earpiece introduced the target. "This is the man you were supposed to apprehend 3 months ago." Craig listened to Sunday giving the briefing and said, "That's him. If I hadn't had that accident, I would have caught him 3 months ago." William made no comment about the past. "I've received intelligence that Patrice will be going to Lion City on a mission. He's a small-time thug who works for money, a hired hand. The real mastermind is someone else, and his identity is surprising." "So it's one of our own?" Craig asked, drawing the implication. "Smart," William said. "The mastermind is named Silva. He used to be a trusted confidant and loyal subordinate of M, stationed in Asia from 1985 until about 1991, when he was blamed for unilaterally attacking a major Asian network. For some reason, M abandoned him, and the opposition hunted him. After being captured, he somehow escaped, rebuilt himself after that near-death experience, and now he's using his knowledge of the service to strike back. His goal is simple: ruin M's reputation and then eliminate her." Craig breathed easier at that. An opponent in the open and one hiding in the shadows were very different. If Silva were exposed and tracked, bringing him down would be a dangerous but straightforward contest. "We should be able to catch him soon," Craig said. William shrugged. "If this were foreign operatives, catching him would be easier. But Silva knows the English Secret Service inside out. He understands our blind spots. He won't be easy to trap. Besides, he's an old hand. If he hadn't been betrayed, no one would have caught him 3 years ago. Now, after suffering that loss, Silva is far more cautious. I spent tens of millions just to scrape together some vague leads." "Tens of millions?" Craig stared, speechless. "You paid for intelligence yourself? The Security Council must have given you a huge advantage, the kind that makes a capitalist like you throw money at a problem without blinking." William only half denied it. He smiled at Craig. He didn't want to admit there hadn't been a literal cash payment, saying he'd bought the information, made the source easier to hide, and provided a neat excuse later. The more you pay, he thought, the better the cover for whatever favors you might ask. "Money's the ultimate power," he said. "If a little cash won't fix it, you haven't offered enough. If I weren't worried about scaring Silva off entirely, I'd have put a 20 million bounty on the dark web. That would have brought in every kind of filthy hand to drag him out for the reward." Craig shook his head with a bitter laugh. "I hate you capitalists. For you, everything can be solved by spending more, and then you'll make twice or thrice what you spent." William rolled his eyes. Greed wasn't just a capitalist trait, he thought. "I suspect Silva has a sizable organization behind him, people very skilled at intrusion. The explosion at Special Services headquarters a few days ago? That wasn't a planted bomb so much as a network hack. They got in, opened the gas valves. My plan is for you to go back to London today and report in a way that plays to that vulnerability. Let the infiltrators at Special Services think you're useless. Don't be too competent. I'll arrange to make things harder for you, humiliate you a little." Craig looked at him, puzzled. William's expression turned sly. "If you were nearly killed by an accident caused by a colleague and wanted revenge, what would you do when you met an old comrade who'd had a similar brush with death?" It clicked for Craig. He grinned. "If this works, the deeper your humiliation, the more tempting Silva's offer to recruit you might be. To win you over, he'll probably insist on meeting you personally. That gives us a chance. Once a rat sticks its head out in the open, it's easier to catch." "I don't even have to fake anything," Craig said. "The last few months I've been tearing myself apart. I've barely trained. My body's shot after 3 months. The only question is whether we tell M. Craig watched William calmly. Don't worry, I've never doubted your loyalty. But you must remember Silva used to be M's subordinate. He knows her better than anyone. Hacking into her systems is child's play for him. If he senses anything, he'll dive back into the sewer. For the sake of catching Silva, I don't think telling M helps, William said. He liked Craig as an operative, pragmatic, loyal, and not greedy. For a man who cared about money, William appreciated a henchman who didn't ask for personal gain. Recovering from wounds and a bit of rough hunting were trivial for Craig after a lifetime in the services. They spent the next 2 hours shooting, with the two servants running back and forth collecting fallen grouse. When the area was picked clean, they drove back to the castle. William handed 2 birds to his guests and sent the rest to the stables so everyone could have an extra meal. At lunch, it was just William and his mother. Lena had gone to Oxford to finalize a donation to the Faculty of English Language and Literature and to reinstate the Devenhill Literary Scholarship. The scholarship had lapsed for 2 generations after William's great-grandfather's sacrifice. The castle walls had been partially removed by the university long ago to build dormitories. William didn't care much about the optics, but Lena, relieved she no longer had to worry about money, wanted to restore the family's name in Oxfordshire. 60 years ago, the Devenhill family had sponsored the faculty with £2,000 a year. After William's persuasion, Lena agreed, reluctantly but happily, to underwrite a £1 million donation, though she'd originally planned only £200,000. The dean and several faculty heads were hosting a small banquet to thank her, and they were already trying to leverage the gift for more. She called at 11 to say she wouldn't be back for lunch. During the meal, Craig hesitated, then pointed to the small screen clipped to his suit. William, have you built an artificial intelligence system? I messaged it before lunch. It's far more capable than anything at special services. How did you do it? William's face went blank for a beat. He would never admit the full truth, the complete system Sunday, but he didn't bother with techno doublespeak either. How did I do it? I sat at the monitor and typed, he said, almost bored. Craig rolled his eyes at being treated like an idiot. You could at least play the gentleman, explain it properly. You don't have to talk down to me. William shrugged. Talking about AI with you would be wasted breath. Craig bristled, but said nothing more. After lunch, they parted, agreeing to meet in London the next day. The following morning, just after William had breakfasted with his mother and was discussing the scholarships in the garden, Gareth Mallory rang. Bond was alive, Gareth said, and he wanted William to come to London to assess whether Bond was fit for duty. William had been waiting for the call. After a few minutes' conversation, he agreed, though reluctantly. Lena, watching him as he paced the garden, read her son better than he imagined. She could tell he was trying to deceive someone. William kissed her cheek, muttered an apology, said he had to go to London on business, and drove off. On the way, he phoned M's assistant, Bill Tanner, to meet him and take him to headquarters. After Silva's bombing, Special Services had relocated to a new, undisclosed site. William, who usually didn't concern himself with such details, had no idea where. He parked at the agreed meeting point an hour later, and a Land Rover nearby signaled him. Bill was behind the wheel. They drove for over 20 minutes, then down a ramp into a subterranean complex. This is under Churchill Castle, Bill explained as they walked through corridors. Parts of it date to the 18th century. Decades ago, it was used as a secret command center. The place is secure, except for those damned rats. They wound through a maze of passages before reaching the bunker lobby, which still bore the chaos of a rushed move. How long has it been, and it's still such a mess? William asked. It took 3 days just to move the servers, and every classified paper had to be checked, signed and sealed by the responsible officer. Supplies only arrived yesterday. If we had to do it again, everyone would lose their minds. Bill slapped his mouth and steered William toward the testing suite. Come on, they said you're running the assessment. William grinned. You'll be moving again soon enough, unless you plan to stay underground with the rats. Have you heard anything about the new site? Bill asked as they walked on. Be patient, William deflected. For appearance's sake, they can't keep you down here forever. Bill led him into the testing room. They waited only a moment before Bond entered, escorted by technicians in white coats. Craig was there too. His face looked worse than it had yesterday, even worse than when he'd recently gone without treatment. William gave Craig a small, approving nod. The man's deteriorated appearance would help sell the plan. The sports scientists fitted Bond with the monitoring equipment. William sat back on the sofa and closed his eyes, feigning boredom. After running a battery of tests, the specialists conferenced briefly, then approached William. Bond's physical condition is very poor, the lead scientist reported. I don't recommend him for field duty anymore. Chapter 179. All right, I understand, William said, walking over to Bond with the test report. Let's go, Mr. Bond. We'll test your marksmanship, then run a psychological evaluation. The marksmanship test was straightforward. Bond deliberately held back, missing even an 8-ring from 10 meters on purpose. 10 shots with a CZ-83 pistol earned him only 57 points. William shook his head, said nothing, and dismissed the staff who had been filming and taking notes. His expression made the message clear. Bond played along, turned, and left with a sullen face. After noon, William met with Gareth, who had come specially. As soon as they sat, Gareth asked, "How did it go?" William smiled. "If you mean combat capability, Bond isn't ready yet. But I think only he could have caught the target this time. For the plan, I need you to put on a show in front of everyone." "A show?" Gareth looked puzzled. "We can assume our opponent knows us well," William said. "He's probably one of us, or used to be, or our organization is compromised. So let's turn their scheme against them. Put on a performance and see what the traitor does when he learns a super soldier might be willing to betray us." "Turn him?" Gareth's eyes lit up. "Exactly. If they want to win him over, they'll need to appear sincere. Power, money, women, all of that can be offered. But if they're willing to talk, they'll have to meet Bond, won't they?" Gareth's rare smile finally widened. "Excellent. I knew it was right to come to you. You're a natural at this. Thank you." "Cut the flattery," William said. "I'm doing the work, but don't stand me up afterward. If I don't get my benefits, you'll be in trouble." "Don't worry. I was about to tell you, I've gotten the big boss and the head of the Treasury to sign off on the conditions I promised. For the next year, investments you bring into England will enjoy a tax refund policy." "1 year?" William grabbed Gareth's collar and drew him close. "What can I do in 1 year?" "1 year," Gareth said, meeting his eyes. "That's enough time for you to transfer the billions from your Swiss accounts back to England. Don't be greedy. Think about risk. We're allies. You wouldn't pursue your own interests and ignore ours, would you?" That reassured William. He wasn't naive. The limit was a way to control excess. A 2 billion cap would still save him more than 500 million. He let Gareth go, hesitated, then said angrily, "Christ, my first planned investment into England is about 3 billion. I'll have to use offshore companies." "What?" Gareth stared. "How long have you been on top? 7 or 8 months. How did you make that much? Rob a bank. William, be careful. Once you get mixed up with some people, you can't get free." "Screw you. Do I look stupid? Why launder money when I can take it straight?" William snapped. "Can you handle 3 billion? Don't let your boss be forced out after I transfer funds." "It's awkward. We didn't expect you to have that much capital. 2 billion is doable. Or set up a trust fund. That's the sensible route. I don't understand why someone at your level hasn't used one." William had already entrusted the family fund to Moonstar Law Firm. Even if he didn't want to use it for charity in England, a fund was inevitable at his wealth level. "Fine, 2 billion. If you play it right, that's plenty." William glanced at his watch. "Bond's psychological evaluation starts in about 20 minutes. Interested?" "Of course. I came to see Bond for myself," Gareth said after a pause. "Are you sure Bond can be handled? What if he really is angry and... Don't worry. He knows he was shot by accident and that his best friend was killed by the other side. He's hungry for revenge. We'll watch, then talk." William led Gareth to the interrogation room. Standing behind the large one-way mirror, Em and her assistant Bill sat waiting. Soon the psychologist and his assistant knocked and entered. Everyone exchanged perfunctory greetings. Bond entered the interrogation room with a smirk. He knew someone was watching from behind the glass. He took his chair with a show of defiance and stared back at the psychologist. He was already irritated by the questioning, and William's plan made him even less cooperative. "Hello, Mr. Bond. You can call me Bob. We'll start with some simple word association," the psychologist said. "When I say a word, you say the first thing that comes to mind." "Day." "Waste," Bond cut in, impatient. Bob glanced helplessly at Em and Bill. This was going to be difficult. "All right, continue." "Gun." "Shoot." "Special agent." "Traitor." "Woman." "Female traitor." William couldn't help laughing, which earned him a cold look from Em and Bill. "My apologies," Bob said. "I didn't realize Mr. Bond was feeling humorous today." "Fatal." "Bird." "Sky." "Old woman." "Old hag." Hearing that, Gareth and William both turned to look at Em, but she showed no irritation, only concern. "Sunshine." "Swimming." "Moonlight." "Dancing." "Murder." "Work." "Country." "England." When Bob said falling, Bond's face changed. The word hit a nerve. It brought back the memory of being shot off the bridge by a comrade. His jaw twitched. Pain crossed his features. He rose abruptly. "Finished," he said, walked to the glass to stare at the observers for a moment, then left the interrogation room. Gareth shot William a dissatisfied look. "This is what you said was fine?" William was momentarily taken aback, but quickly recovered. He shrugged and gave a short laugh. Gareth staged a helpless look at him and then turned to Em. "Forgive me. Perhaps I'm an outsider. Is this what you call progress?" Em had nothing to say. She swallowed, then said, "Let's go to my office and talk." They left the interrogation room. Passing through the lobby, they saw Bond chatting casually with a young black woman. Em angrily nodded to Bill. He understood and walked over to Bond. "Follow me," Bill said. Bond nodded and turned to the woman. "A tip, next time you shoot at a moving target, aim better. Not everyone's as forgiving as I am." She smirked. "My advice? If someone's pointing at you next time, stand still and put your hands up." William, standing nearby, laughed. He called after Bond as he approached. "Craig, times have changed. Being a special agent isn't glamorous anymore. Women don't throw themselves at you just because you're one. Now they'll throw bullets instead if you piss them off." Bond rolled his eyes at William and followed Bill, a wry expression on his face. They arrived at M's office. William introduced them. "Bond, this is Gareth Mallory, chairman of the security committee. Mallory, this is Bond." As protocol, Bond stepped forward. "Good afternoon, Mr. Mallory. I'm James Bond." Chapter 180. You too, Mr. Bond. "All right, gentlemen, please have a seat." After everyone settled, M held Bond's test report and spoke without expression. "It appears you performed adequately. Your overall score is just satisfactory. You may resume duty, Bond." "Thank you," Bond said, smiling as he stood and nodded to M. He exchanged a look with her, clearly wanting to slip away. "You're busy. I'll get back to work." "Wait." Gareth fixed M with a pointed look. "Either I misread this, or my ears are failing me. Can someone explain why an agent with an unsatisfactory psychological evaluation is being reinstated so quickly? This is not only irresponsible toward the agent, it's a breach of protocol. Bond's reinstatement should be conditional on further observation and stop." M slammed her hand lightly on the table and cut him off, frowning. "If you want to give orders, go back to the Security Council and get me an order for my dismissal. Otherwise, I will use whichever agents I see fit. At MI6, apart from the Secretary of State for Security and the head of the service, I make the calls." "But you're harming him," Gareth persisted, jerking his chin toward Bond's white-streaked beard. "He suffered a very serious injury. I don't believe someone over 40 can fully recover in such a short time. MI6 is not so short-handed. We need a near 40-year-old man charging into the field. We should give the younger agents a chance." "Excuse me, pardon the interruption." Bond's voice was flat as he stared at Gareth. Everyone turned to him. "Since when does a 32-year-old get called over 40 with a straight face? If you're inventing details, at least try to be plausible." A laugh from the end of the table, William, cut through the room. "Still, he moves like a man in his 40s or 50s, he said, and Gareth grinned. Everyone knew the test results, and William's jab hit a cramped nerve. Bond, who'd held back during the evaluation, had no immediate retort. William continued, "I'm curious why a man who was shot by his own people, fell from a bridge dozens of meters high, and almost died, didn't use that as an excuse to retire quietly. Very few frontline agents ever get a peaceful retirement. It makes me wonder whether he might come back with grudges and ulterior motives. Enough, William. M's voice snapped like a whip. She glared at him. You may question Bond's skills, but you will not question his loyalty. Questioning him is questioning me, and you can't force a severely injured man back into service before he's fit. Madam, Gareth pressed, if he was injured, why didn't he report it? Why didn't he return to England for treatment and instead hide in Morocco? It's been over 10 days since the incident at MI6. Why has he only just come back? That raises questions about where he's been for those 10 days. Did he refuse to return? Was he broken by the shooting? In any case, Mr. Bond may no longer be suitable for field work. I suggest moving him to logistics or training. Let him contribute the rest of his energy. Contribute the rest of his energy. That sounds noble, but what you mean is monitor him, Bond said, eyes cold as he stared at William and Gareth. You can fire me, but you cannot insult me. Gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. The rest is MI6 internal business. As long as I run MI6, it isn't for the two of you to decide. M pointed to the office door. Get out. I'll take responsibility if anything happens. Gareth stood, smoothed his suit, his face hard. Madam, I will report today's proceedings to the Secretary of State for Security. Expect to be called before the Security Council. The threat was a formality. It didn't faze M. After William and Gareth left, she turned to Bond. Don't mess this up, or I might be forced out before I retire. Understood. Bond's nod was steady. He felt a tug of guilt as he moved to the table and switched off the recorder. He leaned in to whisper to M, I apologize, madam. Everything just now was staged by William and me, for the minutes. He tapped the recorder. We needed that on record. M sat back, letting out a quiet breath. I didn't expect the opponent to be Silva. With his temperament, your plan might actually work. Damn it, I was careless. I always thought that bastard had died for his country. I even had his real name engraved on the Wall of Honor. Why did you abandon Silva? Bond asked, the question that had been nagging him finally escaping. From William's remarks, it sounded as if you deliberately exposed his location, which led to his capture. M answered calmly, almost wearily. You should know what happened in 1991. With the geopolitical shifts, Silva ignored orders and launched a covert attack on the network of an eastern country and was captured. Faced with that country's accusations in the lives of 6 of our men, I had no choice. Regardless of my personal feelings, I had to make a decision I didn't want to make. I shouldn't have shown leniency 3 years ago, she added. I never imagined Silva would escape that country. Do you really believe he broke out entirely on his own? Bond smiled faintly. No one escapes on their own when eyes are turned the other way. So this time, I want him alive. No one is allowed to contact him without my permission. I have questions. M's expression went hard. If it becomes urgent, I authorize you to kill him. He knows too much. Whether he's captured by enemies or by rivals, he's a threat. Understand? Understood, madam. Bond nodded. Just as he was about to continue, his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. William was calling. He put a finger to his lips and mouthed, shh. Both M and Bill nodded. Bond hit the speaker button. William's voice filled the room. You have a job, Craig, William said. Patrice will arrive in Lion City at 8:15 p.m. the day after tomorrow. Your mission is to eliminate Patrice in front of a woman named Séverine. Don't ask why. You'll understand when you meet her at the Golden Dragon Hotel in the Eastern Gambling City. Say hello to M and Bill for me. Tell Bill his surprised face is ugly. Finally, Mr. Craig, because of your big mouth, if anything goes wrong, don't come whining to me. Bond turned to Bill. Bill's startled, wide-eyed expression really was a sight, awkward enough to deserve William's insult. M didn't care about expressions. She watched Bond and asked, This office has no external communications, no cameras, no feeds. We have 2 routine checks a day. How does William know our situation? Bond's hand hovered near the sunglasses hanging from his collar. He was about to reach for them when William's voice piped into his earpiece again. Oh, by the way, William said, sounding almost amused, there's something I forgot to ask because you annoyed me so much. Do me a favor, as compensation for the trouble your big mouth caused. What favor? Bond asked quietly, puzzled. Heh, you know, me. Only money makes me happy. Help me sell this equipment to M. The set you're wearing is priced at 10 million pounds a set. If that's too steep, there are cheaper versions, 10% off for £1 million, 20% off for 5 million. Fuck you, Bond said under his breath. 10 million would buy a Harrier. Are your gadgets worth 10 million? Do you think we're idiots, William? Em and Bill looked startled at his bluntness. Their faces had been set in annoyance, but when they realized Bond was cursing William, the tension shifted. Awareness, disbelief, then a reluctant grin from Bill. Bond tapped the phone and indicated to M, "System. Put him on loudspeaker." William's laughter came through loud and clear. The room filled with the dry, familiar cadence of a man who knew how to push buttons, both literal and figurative, and the meeting, staged or not, had done its work.